Don't forget.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you would, follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation from Chief Schmidt.
Our Father in heaven, we thank Thee for this wonderful night that we've been provided. Father, we're so grateful to Thee for the incredible weather we've enjoyed and also for the many blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon this city. Father, as we come before Thee now, we ask Thee to please continue to bless us. Please bless our aldermen with the power of discernment. Please bless visitors with civility and the ability to calmly discuss issues. Father, we are extremely grateful to Thee for the 2 employees that will be recognized this evening. We are so grateful for the outstanding employees, residents, and community that we have. We ask Thee to continue to look upon us and provide many more blessings. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Lucas? Denham? Cooper?
Here.
Milton?
Here.
Howden?
Here.
LeBlanc?
Here.
Schultz?
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to start off tonight with a few awards. Director Woods, would you come down?
I am excited about this one. Oh, but wait.
Oh, but wait.
For all those that don't know me, I love Christmas, and Brian is my lighting ambassador. So I heckle him a little bit about being lighting ambassador, and I kind of gave him that name. But what it is about today is the honor of Brian. His own teammates, many of them here today, really honor Brian's hard work throughout all the years, from his creativity and welding to his way he can teach people to get things done, versus he also just takes on every new employee and treats them like their own and does such a great job. I know he's embarrassed with the lighting ambassador, but that nativity scene, Brian knows the last 2 years, I think I've given him around 10,000 light bulbs to replace. So that takes a task full of people, and Brian does a great job with that. We're super appreciative of the efficient methods that Brian comes up with. Branson Landing Boulevard, we ran into couple snags, and Brian stepped right up and made it so that was open the whole time while we powder coated everything up in Ozark. And we're super thankful for his talents. I call you my friend. I know all your friends are here today. A bunch of people really appreciate you. Congratulations on being Employee of the Month, Brian.
Great, thank you. Well deserved, Brian. Next week, Chief Schmidt has a introduction to an honor of one of his employees.
Yes. So I have the pleasure of introducing the Employee of the Month from the Police Department for the Special Commendation Award. And today we are honoring Officer Jeremy Dixon. Sir, if you'd come on down. This one was a little... This one was a little late in coming. This actually happened for something in February. but we wanted to make sure that it didn't get forgotten. You know, I'm sure many people in here are familiar with the song, There's Angels Among Us. On this day, truly, he was serving, he may not look angelic, might be, but they come in all different forms and sizes. At about 11 p.m. on this evening, he was alert and he was paying attention on Highway 248 as a intoxicated driver went flying by him at a high rate of speed. He could have ignored it. He could have been looking the other way. He could have been, you know, in a parking lot checking his phone. But instead, he was watching what was going on, and he immediately turned around, proceeded after to try to effect a traffic stop. But before he could even catch up to that vehicle, it crashed into a tree and immediately caught on fire. Jeremy got there, found that driver with serious injuries. She was unable to remove herself from the vehicle, and while the car was becoming engulfed, he removed her, and within seconds of getting her out of there, that thing was completely up in flames. I happened to be on duty that night and was there, probably about 2 minutes, and there was absolutely no way this driver would have survived that had Jeremy not been there and paying attention that night. So for that reason, we put him in for this Employee of the Month, and we are extremely proud of him and the job he does every day, just like all of our employees. And then Amber, I think that since you helped with this, you should help present the sign to Jeremy. So. I heard what Mike was doing, and we had to try to outdo him.
Acting Sergeant. Step Sergeant, please know that this is with so much love.
Awards banquet several years ago. That's actually me. And then on the back of both actually. Yeah, both actually. So yeah.
Hey, I've got the orange one. If you
I thought about it. I'm not gonna lie.
That's adorable. Aw. Wait. Love that.
Very nice. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments this evening?
Yes, sir. We have 2 signed up to speak this evening.
Okay. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed. Please note the clerk will let the speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring down an item from consent agenda for additional discussions, please note this request during your comments. Please come to this freestanding microphone to address the board. Madam Clerk?
Our first speaker is Bobby Wydeen, speaking on shout out to Parks Department employee.
Hold on.
It's on.
And try again.
No. Yes. That was my
Test 1, 2.
It was the podium that was unmuted. I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'd like to give a shout out to Amy Jackson. She's a Parks Department employee. She's an arborist. She came to Head Start to talk about trees and how to take care of them to our kiddos. And she came and checked on the favorite tree on the playground, an oak tree named Steve, that the kids named, and went outside with the kids, said he needs a haircut. There's a couple branches that need to come down, and talked about different types of trees that we have on our playground and in our yard. And she also gave a little demonstration of her equipment she uses, like her chainsaw chaps that she wears and all her safety gear. And she also gave the teachers lots of information and pamphlets on different types of trees in Missouri. So it was very helpful, and the kids loved her, and she did a great job, and I thought you should know about that. Thank you.
Bobby, thank you so much. Madam Clerk?
Our final speaker is Richie Zait, speaking on comments.
That was comments, not comments. I always get things mixed up, don't I? It's good to see y'all, and things have changed. This is a political arena as well as a social arena, as well as a community arena. But my mission has always been the same, and that is to save lives. And I commend you for excluding lockdowns and masks and things that would compel people to have to do things against their will. Bill Gates is having some problems right now in Europe because of the effects of the vaccine. And I think it's inappropriate to allow pregnant women to receive vaccines when we've proven that it's detrimental and can actually kill unborn babies. So my mission, as long as I'm breathing on this earth, is to save as many lives as I can. And also I am concerned about people's souls, because we're all going to meet the Maker at the end of the movie. And he's waiting for us to do something, take some gumption, not be concerned. You know, we have, the whole mission is to save lives. Like the officer with that particular accident, and I've been involved in seeing that happen in front of me and getting people out of cars too. So all I'm saying is, if you have the power that God's placed you in this place, then your mission, your obligation is to save lives. We have to save the future. 95% chance of a miscarriage if a woman gets a vaccine. And it's still being distributed, which is, to me, is really kind of unbelievable. So I would like you all to take it to heart during this season when we talk about the Savior of the world, Jesus Christ, who came here to save our souls as a little child. And just think about little children, and think about affecting our culture and our community and the lives of those that will go on beyond us. Thank you.
Thank you, Richie.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I might, I have had several visits with Richie, and I too feel very strongly about the lives of unborn babies and pregnant women. And I don't remember, I talked with Hillary about it, whether it was a year or 2 years ago. There was a resolution that was passed to some degree by the council in regards to this type of a matter. But I was wondering if this would be the appropriate time to ask the clerk to draw up a resolution to prohibit requiring pregnant women to receive the vaccine and children.
Artie, I know we did a resolution to have no mandates. I don't know that we have the authority to mandate COVID shots. That's not under our jurisdiction. Those are federal and state laws that we, by taking our oath of office, we're bound to uphold.
But the mandate that was in the resolution, what was that in regards to?
Go ahead, Marshall.
Was no mask mandate, no vaccine mandate. Basically, we said we were a no mandate city.
We weren't going to mandate it as a city.
So could we do that with respect to women and children, have a no mandate in that regard?
For vaccines,
Yes.
I think we mandated, Yeah, we cannot, we would choose not to mandate any vaccines in our city. You bet. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I ask that consent item number 3 be pulled down to the regular agenda as item number 6.
I second.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda as amended?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the October 22nd, 2024 study session, October 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, and October 29th, 2024 joint meeting. Acknowledge receipt of monthly contract report from September 30th, 2024 to November 3rd, 2024. Final reading of bill number 6495, an ordinance approving a project of the Industrial Development Authority of Taney County, Missouri, and final reading of bill number 6497, an ordinance appointing members to fill certain vacancies on the City of Branson Tax Increment Financing Commission. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Lucas?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is acknowledge receipt of Community Improvement District SIDS 2025 budgets for the 76 Entertainment, Historical Downtown Branson, Fall Creek Valley, Branson Hills Infrastructure Facilities, and Branson Commerce Parks SIDS. So since this was on the consent agenda, we do need a motion and second to get it on the floor, and that would be
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So Alderman Schultz, you want to share?
Yeah, so I may be a little bit more sensitive to this topic since 4 out of the 6 reporting CID districts are in my ward. And I think Alderman Lucas would share this thought that we get a lot of questions and a lot of, I think it's fair to say, anger from residents about some of the actions or inactions and activities of some of these CIDs. And I recognize that these are political subdivisions, that we do not directly control these CIDs. However, there are statutory requirements that these CIDs clearly are not meeting that do impact our ability as the board that authorized these CIDs to make recommendations as provided in the state statutes. So the first is that state statutes require that all CIDs that are subdivisions of Branson must report their proposed budget to the city of Branson for the aldermen to consider between 120 days and 90 days of the start of their fiscal year. By law, their fiscal year must be the same as the city. I note, after asking our city clerk, who has worked diligently to get these reports from the CIDs, which is not a requirement, they are to voluntarily provide them. Nevertheless, all except one of these reports are well outside the state mandated deadline that they should provide them to us so that we can offer our commentary and feedback to these CID districts. Furthermore, the information in many cases that was provided is woefully inadequate compared to the guidelines from the state in terms of what has to be in a budget. The one CID, and I'll use the name since it's a matter of record, it would be the Branson Hills Infrastructure CID that did send their report within that 120-day to 90-day window, clearly showed us with that budget that they had already adopted the budget. It did not wait for any city feedback to their budgeting process. So in all cases, these CIDs have violated state law, have thwarted the efforts of this city to have the oversight that our residents demand of us as elected representatives. And so I therefore make a motion that we direct our city staff to issue a letter to these CIDs highlighting the requirements of the state law with regard to submitting their budget both the timeliness of the budget and the content of the budget, and that they should not enact their budgets until such time that either the expiration for the city has passed to respond, or that they've considered the appropriate response from the city. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Holly, are you up to date with the statute and what the request is?
Yes, and
Go
it's
ahead.
my understanding the motion is for the creation of a letter to clarify to all of the CIDs exactly what is required by the statute, and that the city is requesting that they comply with that. And we can certainly get that done if that's the will of the board.
So we have first and second. Is there any comments from the board?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
living in the Branson Hills area, I am very familiar with the Branson Hills CID and the Branson Hills Infrastructure CID because I pay a tax on my tax bill every year in regards to these. And in the 6 years that I've lived in that district, I have not seen anything done with that tax money. And I know that there have been years when there have been no principal or interest payments to the bondholders in regards to these CIDs. And I think that it's long past due that we do something to address this.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Kathy?
Certainly, we are more than willing to carry out what you're asking us to do. I just want to set appropriate expectations. So we don't have any authority over these bodies. It would be similar as if the board was upset with something on your school taxes and you wanted us to send a letter to the school. Somewhat similar. There's some minor differences. But I just want to set expectations that the only person in the state of Missouri that has jurisdiction over these is the state auditor. Is that correct? Yeah, so we've done a lot of digging since the last board meeting when you guys brought this up to us. And I'm glad our state rep is here with us tonight, because that might be something the legislature might want to consider, is putting some more teeth into the SID legislation. But I also know how precarious things like that can be when you open things up. So, but I'll leave that to their judgment. So thank you, everybody.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I agree with what our city administrator said. However, I think the difference here, unlike a school district, there is a state law that says these documents must be turned into this board on a timely basis. And they have thwarted our ability to do an oversight review process and to receive our comments. So I think it's quite different from other taxing authorities. And I think it's clear that the state set this up since we're the board that authorizes these CIDs. They want to make sure that there's some degree of accountability and feedback with these CIDs. And I think it's important that we as aldermen exercise that. I would go so far as to say that if in next year or at the time that they're required to submit their annual results of a CID, which is later in the year, if they fail on either one of those, my next motion at that time will be that we as aldermen report them to the state auditor for being non-compliant. And I think we should put them on notice. I realize these are often good citizens and business people that are trying to run these organizations, but for the most part, they all retain legal counsel. They're all handling millions of dollars, $500,000 to $1.5 million plus of tax revenue from the citizens that we represent. And I think it's vitally important that we keep the degree of oversight that we can on these organizations.
So Hillary, when we vote on this, is that authorizing Holly to prepare and send the letter?
That's what the motion was, so yes.
Okay.
I simply said city staff so that Kathy can administer it appropriately.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, point of clarification. So, because it seems to be that our only necessarily enforcement mechanism is we're asked to acknowledge the receipt of the CID 2025 budgets. No. Well, my question is, though, we don't have those. So should, as a board, we vote no on this?
Well, it's, if I may I?
Yes.
That's the way our agenda item was written. The state law says that we are due copies of their proposed budget And within that 30-day window, we can offer comments and feedback to that board before they adopt that budget. They can ignore us fully, that's clear. But they nevertheless are required to give us that window. So I think historically, we may not have taken advantage as aldermen of this opportunity, and it might have been a staff function to review it. I know perhaps Baker Hill or looks, Tilly works.
Baker Tilly.
Looks, I was going to get it out, Baker Tilly. Sorry, Ben. Perhaps looks this over and just, does a sanity check on it. But I think clearly, if you read the state statute, that this comes up to the aldermen. And I think we should start exercising that authority given the questions that are being asked by our citizens on these CIDs.
So Hillary, the motion that Glenn made, does that satisfy the completion of this item?
It does not. So it's like a motion within the motion. So the motion second was to acknowledge the receipt of them, and then now we have a mini motion inside of that we need to address, and then we'll come out and the question will be yes to acknowledging.
And I do have another motion after this.
Oh, yeah, hold on a sec. So Hillary, should we vote on the first motion, vote on the second motion, and then, or combine, can we combine them or no?
No, not at this point. We need
Okay,
to.
so board, you ready to vote on the first motion, which was?
It was very lengthy, but it was moved to direct staff to issue a letter to the SIDS, and I will get the rest of the wording from Alderman Schultz.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Second motion is what, Glenn?
Oh, my second motion regarding the, which is the CID we didn't get the one from?
Is it Forsyth Road?
Forsyth Road, thank you. Forsyth Road appears to be a defunct CID, and yet it has not been removed from a state perspective. In looking at the state statutes, it appears that the property owners need to initiate a petition, and then we as the board have to vote on that petition to eliminate the CID. The only requirement is, as I understand it, that the CID cannot have any liabilities at the time that we do it. I believe in the Forsyth Road case that the bank took over, foreclosed on the CID, which most likely satisfied the obligations, and it may be that the bank is the only holder. So my motion here would be that we ask city staff to initiate a conversation with the holders of that property to start a petition so that we can formally close out the Forsyth Road CID at a future meeting.
Are you good with that, Holly?
That's so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Holly, you good with all that?
Yes.
Okay, any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
then
Mr.
just
Mayor.
one more motion, just back to the acknowledging of the SIDS is what's before the board right now. So we've taken care of those two motions. The original motion is acknowledge receipt of the SIDS.
And that was on the consent that we pulled out.
Correct.
Okay, so
You're ready for a motion. I'm sorry, a vote on that, just a vote.
we've already had a motion and a second?
Correct, to put it on the floor.
Marshall?
So should we vote no on this? I'm asking my fellow aldermen.
I would suggest that, I'm trying to think what the correct terminology is from Robert's Rules of Order, but I suggest that we not consider this question. I move that we not consider this question. That overrides that motion. It stops the whole activity.
Hillary, we have a motion and a second, is that correct?
That is correct. We have a motion and second. I'm looking at our.
We have not debated that item, and therefore I'm moving that we not consider the question.
You were the one who moved to put it on the floor.
You can have the motion on the floor, but since we didn't debate the merit of that, you can also have the motion to not consider.
If I can ask Hillary?
Yes.
Are we then, if the board doesn't approve this, is that affecting the review and
It doesn't
Of
affect anything, no.
This is just a housekeeping task that we have. It's not required by statute. It's not required by the SIDS. It's just a means and mechanism. I assume it was created so that it put the issue in front of the board. They just have to submit. There's not a requirement that the board acknowledge it.
Since I made the motion to not consider, I'd like to say I just don't want to give these boards a tacit approval of anything by acknowledging that we received these reports. It's not required by statute. It's not required by our procedure. Was there a second to my motion, Mr. Mayor?
Would you repeat your motion?
My motion is that we not consider this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Holly, you good with this?
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to go back in time. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments from the board that you want to share with the rest of us? Sound like a school teacher. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Nay? Ayes have it.
Okay. So, Your Honor, the next item is a presentation by the Chamber CVB on the 2025 final marketing plan.
Am I on? Was that the item there, Hill, item number 7?
This is item number 6.
Oh. Oh, we moved it, yeah. So we'll get a staff report from Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, board. Hello, Kathy. You know, in my few times I've stood before you in my year and a half with the city, I've often addressed the changes, the momentum, the actions, and the challenges of marketing in Branson. And along the way, we have found positive movement all along the way, moving in the right direction. And that is with our lead marketing and communications and public relations agency, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I think that tonight, in fact, I truly believe that tonight you're going to see a breath of fresh air. You're going to see new ways of doing the business of marketing, new ways of collecting data, new ways of analyzing the research. And I do believe that the levels of accountability and excitement are only growing. So there is the preface to Ms. Pam Yancey.
Hello, Pam.
Good evening, everyone. It's my honor to be here tonight, and I am so excited for us to share what we've got planned for Branson and our destination. It's very exciting. And so just want you to know that as we are looking at marketing plans and looking at our budgets, you know, the main thing is, you know, we want to use research and data so that we can make data-driven decisions that's the right thing for our destination. And, you know, we're adding new tools and all sorts of stuff so that we can get real-time data, no more waiting 3 months to find out something and trying to make a decision about how we move forward in the future. It'll be real-time at our fingertips. So, you know, our new Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, Ms. Heather Herman, this is something that's not new to her. She's used it in the destinations that she's represented before. You know, she's worked in different destinations, but the mission has been the same, to make sure that we use the tax dollars to the very best advantage to bring more people here, to get them to stay longer, get them to fall in love with Branson, and get them to come back and showcase our destination as a place where people can come and experience faith, family, flag, and fun, and know that we celebrate Ozark Mountain Christmas and that we are the official vacation destination of the Kansas City Chiefs. It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Heather Herman. I can't wait for you to hear what she has to share with you.
Thank you, Pam. So, Miss Heather, what do you have to say?
I've got a few things, and normally I say I have a son at home and I'm used to constant interruptions, but I can't use that here because I'm living alone right now. So I'm talking to myself a lot. So I would really like it if you talk back. Let's make this conversational. Go ahead and keep it casual. Don't feel like you have to, hold your thoughts. Please share them. Let's dive right in and discuss. And I feel like maybe I need to let you all know a little bit about me maybe so that you have a little point of reference since this is our first time to really get to talk together. So I came from Sedona, Arizona. I've lived here since September 1st, and my son and my husband are still in Sedona. My agency is about 14 years old. I work in strictly travel and tourism. I've worked with destinations across Arizona, as well as consulted with some domestically in the States. I've represented destinations both internationally and domestically in not only sales, but also marketing. And I found this job kind of on a whim. It was a fluke. Some could say that God had a part in it. And this is the place that my family and I are going to be calling home. We have a bass boat, and in Arizona, that's a foreign language. So we're going to be coming here where my husband can be on the water every day without having to drive hours, and I don't have to be terrified about what's happening to him on the Phoenix freeways.
I've already offered to be his fishing buddy, by the way.
Yeah, he's going to take everyone up on it too. And our son is a fisherman too. Used to compete in the Junior Bass Pro Circuit, and in Arizona, again, people are like, what? There's water to do that? Wow. But it does exist. So he can't wait to be here. So let's dive right in. Let's just jump into what we've got for the marketing plan and the budget.
Heather, before you do, I want to let the board know an additional asset that Heather brings to the table is her thorough understanding of FITs, how that whole world works. She had issues with, a lot of issues with Sedona. And so as we communicate with her, the jargon's the same. She is into that whole issue up to her ears. And I just wanted to share that with the board.
There's lots of commonalities. One thing about city government, we may use different terms. It may be aldermen versus city council members. There might be home rule versus local governance and legislation, all of those things. But a city is a city when it comes down to it. And when it comes to destination marketing, the bottom line is it's being wise with the dollars. Those are public funds, and we need to put them in place and use them in a way that is something that we will not be ashamed to talk about. We should be very transparent about it and be able to talk about it freely and show the return on investment and how that is impacting our community. Because a Chamber of Commerce and a CVB are in the destination, in the community to help drive the economy, help make it stronger. And we do that in partnership with, this is a unique partnership in this destination, obviously, with the TCED and the city, but we're all in it together, right? Those are what we put the dollars for, is so that we can market and make it better for everyone, fuels the local economy, makes it a better place to live for everyone here, makes it a better place to visit as well. So I just wanted to share on our first slide that what we have in our contract, we understand the assignment. We know what our responsibilities are to provide that integrated destination marketing plan that incorporates everything. It includes the sports component, it includes the sales component, public relations, tourism development, all of the pieces. And we want to make sure that we maximize the investment of those tourism dollars. And I'm excited about our very clear focus in this destination. I was thrilled to attend the 9/11 memorial. I thought that was, I was crying. I was standing there just bawling at the landing. That picture of the flag was just, I was texting it to all of my friends and family. I think that we have a very unique and amazing destination that we're not afraid to say faith, family, flag. That's something that we can get behind. And I'll tell you later on, when we were talking about earlier, listening to those downtown improvements, there's so many exciting red, white, and blue possibilities down there. Oh, I can't wait. So not only that, but we're also the official vacation destination of the Chiefs. Can't wait to show you some of those things. Yep, we were there on 4:45 in the morning on Sunday, setting up the tailgate, yeah. And we gave out so many hundreds and hundreds of clear fanny packs. We gave out all of our stuff 1 hour before the game started. It was so popular. They moved us to a better location. It was really amazing. Live music shows. We are unique, and we need to stand behind that and champion what we've got. Live music shows all day long. We're going to follow our industry standard goals and objectives with enhancing the tourism in the city, bringing new visitors, and then maximizing what we do effectively and efficiently. Right now, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what we're getting. You've seen it, H2R research. It worked in the past, but there are so many amazing tools out there of what we can get for data at the click of a mouse. There's no more waiting 3 months at a time. We're going to have data and research that is real time. We'll be able to come back to you all and give you data and metrics around 4,968 approximate vacation rentals to be able to tell you what's going on in that market. What's their booking window looking like? How is that impacting? Will that possibly impact decisions that you need to make down the road about short-term vacation rental rules and laws? So those are added pieces to the puzzle that we're going to have. But in addition to that, the metrics and the tools that we'll have will help us expand our reach. You look at that map, and what do you see when you look at that map of the United States? Our heat map is central, right? It's one kind of central focus. It's not nationwide. We've got opportunity nationwide to be talking about Branson. So we're going to. And that's where our strategy comes in. In 2025, we're going to take more ownership of our storytelling capacity. We're going to be highlighting faith, family, flag, letting the locals start telling the tales and the stories. We've got great storytellers here. The mayor we already know is one of them. So we're going to be using more. He's wrote a letter, in our vacation guide for 2025. He's written the welcome letter when you first open up the pages of it. It's a beautiful layout. We've got his wonderful welcome letter. I need to get your signature, by the way, on a piece of paper. Don't let me forget, because we've got to put that in the page. And we'll get our live music shows, our artists, our attractions, everything involved, so that we get to tell a better story about Branson. When you look on the Springfield Branson Airport website, these are all of the direct flight markets. We're going to go after those. It's easy to do digitally, it's affordable too, but it also, with our new data platforms and systems, we'll be able to measure the effectiveness and show the ROI on that and be able to gauge when we're moving the needle in those different markets. So, having flown back and forth to Arizona a couple times, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to fly that Allegiant flight, 2 hours, 1 minute, and not only is the Springfield Branson Airport amazing when you have experienced Phoenix Sky Harbor, yeah, but when you fly into the Mesa Gateway Airport, it's so similar to the Springfield Branson Airport. It's almost like deja vu, right? It's small, it's easy to maneuver. You can hop in your Uber right away. You can get your rental car, sometimes easy, sometimes not, but it's such a quick flight. I was sitting in that airport the last time looking around and I'm thinking, why aren't we marketing to Phoenix? Do you know how many Arizonans would love it here? Because it's green, for starters. And I can tell you the first time my son went to a place that was green as a child growing up in Arizona, he kept blinking like this in the car. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And he goes, it's so green on my eyes. We need more Arizonans to experience that here because we've got water, we've got trees, we've got fun, we've got live music shows, we've got so many things. Arizonans will love it. So we're going to dip into those markets and we're going to try to move the needle on visitation. Yes, please.
If I could ask that you also consider adding Minneapolis to your map because of the direct connection, not in Springfield Branson Airport, but in Branson Airport, I think is another ready market for us with the cheap flights.
Absolutely.
Flights.
Alderman Glenn, I have that in my notes from our conversation from last time, and we're already looking into that market based on our meeting. Yeah. So what we're changing with public relations, You probably heard in the past that we used quite a few agencies. We're really aiming to reduce those agency fees and work directly. We're going to tell the story from our team. So we will only be using one PR agency, and that's only Dan Shepard for the golf industry. And we've already let him know that it's going to be a one more year so that our team internally can kind of shadow him, learn more about the golf industry, work tightly with him, and then be able to say, we've got that industry too. So I know there might be some hesitation or worry that there won't be the opportunity to get with the, like the KY3s or the Color 10s of the world. We're already having those conversations. We will go directly to them. We met with them Color 10 today, and we're meeting with KY3 Friday, and we're addressing this immediately. When we call, because we're also going to be doing some whole new TV components too that are really exciting, they said yes, they will answer.
And Heather, thank you so much for saying that. And what was crucial about that in the past was it was a one call that stakeholders could make. Maybe it's to you, maybe, you know, whatever, so that you guys can make the call, but also share it out with our stakeholders that they can make that one call and get to those Springfield stations, because when you have a big event, that's a crucial piece of the marketing.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we asked specifically if we could have some performers be on their shows at a given time, and they said yes, they would love that. They would love to devote some time to that. So I think we just have some bigger asks that we just need to do, and they're ready to invite us and have us come there. Yeah. So in our marketing and PR plan, we're also going to be looking at a really concentrated theme-based approach throughout the year. It helps internally. As an agency owner, I can tell you that the more your marketing and your PR mirror each other, the easier it is to manage and to operate. So we have really specific themes that we'll be placing throughout the year so that we can get our media and our content creators, everybody on the same page, and know that these are the times of the year that these are going to be taking place. Ozark Mountain Christmas, that backdrop was actually what we used at the last we use it right now during the season, but Santa made a special appearance at the last tailgate where it was pouring rain because he needed to come and dry off. So we just wanted to let you all know, though, that we know that the theme for Ozark Mountain Christmas moving forward is that. That's the theme for the winter months. October 1st through when it ends, January 7th, it's Ozark Mountain Christmas. There's no mistaking it. I have it in big bold letters on my dry erase board in my office. That's what it is. We're not going to confuse or mix the message moving forward, so we want you to know that. We hear you. And it's live music shows. I'm telling you, the potential and the opportunity. I consider myself privileged that I got the invitation to go and see Pam Tillis. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And I was posting it all over my social media, so everybody else should be too. And we know that we can put a special focus on the faith, the patriotism, and the family fun. All of that's included. Now, the big thing, Miles Partnership. You've probably heard in years past the amount of money that has been spent with Miles. We are reducing what we're doing with them by a lot. I had a meeting with them yesterday and let them know how much we will be reducing their agency fee and what their responsibility is. So the reduction that will be coming to them is almost $2 million, and we're going to be funneling that into different projects that we control that will be directly under our control so that we can measure the results and see the effectiveness. Ultimately, my goal would be that we are free of miles. Perhaps we use them for maybe some website maintenance if that's needed, or if there's something behind the scenes that we can't handle that we need to offset to them. But that's the ultimate goal. The more that we can control as the CVB and manage those funds, the better we can measure the effectiveness of the spend. So this is the tactic and the strategy that they use in terms of how they're placing those funds, and then we put at the bottom some of the platforms that they're using. Immediately, we're pulling TV from them completely. They will not be handling any traditional TV, any connected TV. It's going to go January 1st. So they are working on what the reduction in their budget, and I'll show you on the next page. This is the schedule as far as how they will be operating for next year, and then what their seasonal focuses will be, which will be provided by us, obviously, and then how the spend is divided up. So $400,000 of that spend will be coming from the city's budget, and the other part will be coming from TCED, and that includes the breakdown of their 13% agency fee. So you can see what their budget was for 2024, 4.12 million, and what it will be for 2025 is 2.275. They have assured us that they work best under pressure and less money. Funny how that works. And that we'll get more data and reporting, spending less money. So we're holding them to that.
Heather, thank you. I've been on the board a couple of times over the last few years, and that's been the number one thing that's drove me crazy, is when I watch all those reports and see all the money that's been spent on research or this or that. You know, we spent $80,000 to have and they say we should do this, and then, you know, we spent $75,000 and they think we should do this, when there's plenty of people that have knowledge here that would have told you that for free.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, next. So how are we going to reinvest some of those funds, right? So we're increasing the traditional connected TV, KY3, bot radio. That was in last year's budget at $250,000. So we've increased that to $750,000 from the city side. And I'm excited because we've come together with KY3 to have a proposal from them to have a dedicated every Thursday show called Explore Branson. We will be the co-hosts of it, and we've asked that we be able to feature what we want. We'll be able to control it. So we know that every episode will end with your top 5 things to do in Branson. Whether we say this week or this weekend is, you know, obviously up for play. But then we've asked for that to reach beyond Springfield. We want to start hitting some of those target markets. Obviously, they have affiliate channels that they can serve that content to. So on Friday, they're bringing us what those options will be out of market. And what we've asked for first is to start with Phoenix and Dallas and see what our cost is so we can fit that in the budget and then go from there. And then we've done the same thing with Color 10 to be able to say we want to reach those further markets. But again, we get to control all the content. So that means that we're going to be coming to each of you and giving you the opportunity to co-host, to highlight what you want, to banter back and forth with people on TV about the things you love about Branson, to showcase our live entertainment. During the Christmas months, all we talk about is Ozark Mountain Christmas. We know we have enough to fill everyday show. So we're going to get there with some different new opportunities. And then the military veterans focus, we increased this budget by quite a bit, as you'll see, because we know that there are more opportunities out there to take advantage of on a daily basis. And as we really lean into the proclamation of America's most patriotic city, it's just going to get more. We have more opportunities to take advantage of.
Heather, excuse me.
Yeah.
That veterans budget, wasn't that like 10 grand or something? What was it before?
It was 50.
Okay.
And we increased it to 100. And then we did move around. There wasn't a division of historic downtown and Ozark Mountain Christmas. They weren't divided out before. So we decided to divide them out and give more to Ozark Mountain Christmas. And this isn't to say that this is the only bit of funds that's going to be used for each of those segments. We just want you to know that those funds are for things specifically like what we did with some of the local affiliate TV markets where we were able to buy 2-minute segments and showcase and talk about the downtown and mention stores by name and talk about tree lightings. So it's in addition to what's already budgeted during those times, but these will be unique, special opportunities that we talked today with one of the TV stations about doing some special promotions where we own the piece that's airing. We don't pay for it necessarily, but we put together the whole trip package that they promote by showing our video. Branson's the place you got to go for Ozark Mountain Christmas, enter to win, and then it drives more visitation. And if we create the landing page on Explore Branson, it just gets more and more attention to those pages. So that's the strategy on that. And same thing with live music shows and the historic downtown. We really just want to be able to call out each individually and know that we have the dedicated funds for each of those to give them just a little more attention and love. And after hearing the construction piece, I've worked in destinations that have had downtown construction and had to work specifically to keep those stores open and in business during construction. It's tricky, it's really hard, but knowing now that we have some dedicated funds to do that, we can make sure that we're really pumping out the messaging and making sure that people know downtown is open. Downtown is open. There may be construction, but downtown is open. You still need to come and support them and then really turn it on when it's done. And, we can work with Lisa and have a major celebration and, make it a big festive thing.
Heather, if I may, with regard to the historic downtown spend, have you already met with the historic downtown CID? Because they spend a fair amount of money themselves in a direct marketing activity, and I would just think it would make sense to try to do some coordination there and not duplicate and so on.
There was a lady here this evening, I believe.
Yeah, she's the paid administrator for that.
Just got to meet her
Yes.
this evening,
Yeah,
so
Crespo
we made that
Hank.
connection.
Yeah, she's a good resource for you to make
Absolutely.
that conversation go.
Excellent. And then we did reserve some funds for some in-market activations. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like, we had a conversation with Fritz's Adventure today. You're probably familiar, they're opening a Fritz's in Dallas. So we talked with them about how could we incorporate a special event around their new location in Dallas and have it be around the dates of the Dallas Travel and Adventure Show. I don't know if you guys have ever attended those. They're consumer-driven, but they also have media at them as well as tour operators and travel agents. So it's a great opportunity to showcase your destination for 2 days. But if we had an event at Fritz's in Dallas and we made it all Branson inside, and we had an entertainer or 2 or 3 come and perform inside of Fritz's, and then we also did a private event where we invited the media, tour operators, receptive operators, travel agents, all of that to Fritz's to really showcase, did you know you can hop on a flight, 45 minutes, you're in Springfield, and then you can just drive to Branson, here's all the reasons why, and then while we're there, do the Dallas Travel and Adventure Show so that we're able to get more bang for our buck. Then a digital targeted campaign with metrics and attribution that would be managed by us. So as an example on this one, it would be, let's just throw out, for instance, TripAdvisor. If we wanted to do a specific campaign that was run on TripAdvisor featuring a custom landing page for Branson, highlighting different attractions, shows, things to do, all of those, but it's got attribution. So we're able to measure it from the time someone served an ad until the time they click go, they book a trip, they come in market, how long do they stay, where were they from, give us all their details because we all carry a cell phone, right? And then we get the full reporting on that. What was the return on investment? What's the economic impact? Are there emerging markets that we should be targeting? That's how we will be running all digital campaigns moving forward. It's not a throw it out there and wonder what if, but it's measuring everything that we put out there. Then, in terms of the sales side, we have it broken down on how the spend is for leisure, for sports, meetings and conventions, and then we have kept in the co-ops, the SEM co-op, and the live music shows co-op. And speaking about those 2 things, I know that it was kind of touched on at my first Alderman meeting that I came to where Mr. Haygood presented. and Madden was discussed. We will be looking and sending out an RFP to move away from Madden and go in a different direction. And we are excited to put that RFP out to anyone locally within the state of Missouri. We know that there is talent right here in our own backyard that's capable of handling that. So we're really excited to move in that direction, and we think it'll be a better investment for those dollars and receive a better return on investment for sure for the businesses who participate as well. And then we did leave a little cushion in there for miscellaneous things like media hosting, and we get an incredible journalist. We don't want to have to say no to them. We've got to be able to bring them in market. And then if there's some last minute things like a last minute TV purchase that, you know, we ran out of the budget over here, but we can squeeze it in over here. So we need that little cushion, that little bit of wiggle room. And then our creative agency, Cultivator, we have divided that up because we know that we want to get new specific content for the city limits. We want to be able to showcase and highlight the things. These downtown lights that are hung up on the poles are beautiful. So we want some new footage of that. We can get some drone footage of the downtown tree that's right there. There's so much that we can capture. The research and the data, this is one of my favorite parts because the platforms that we can log into, I'm telling you, the days of waiting 3 months for a report are gone. We will be able to pull information for you at the click of a button. That will probably change the Explore Branson website in terms of what that research component looks like, because let's call it what it is. Some of that's proprietary, and we as a destination, we should hold on to our goods, right? We shouldn't be sharing it and telling our neighboring destinations what the tools are and how to use them. If we're paying for it, let's treat it like that. Let's treat it like it's ours. We share it with our constituents and our stakeholders, but let's not advertise it on our website so that every destination who's comparable to ours can take our tools and use them. What's not included in this budget is the piece for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you guys are getting the deal of a century. We do all of this for no administrative fee for you. I can tell you from my experience that is unheard of. So we hope that you see value in what we're doing and the hard work that we're putting into it. And we hear you, we're listening, we're always here to listen. And we love what we do. You know, I'm in this industry because I love travel and tourism. You know, people ask me sometimes, oh man, but the politics. I was an elected school board member. That's a nightmare in politics. So I will tell you that the reason I do this is because I love to sell vacation. I love to sell fun, and that's what we do. At the end of the day, we live in a great place, right? We live in an amazing place that people wish they could live here. That's why they visit so many times. So let's tell the story. Let's have fun with it. And that's what we get to do. Now, I just want to highlight a little bit the Chiefs. We are working on some new opportunities with the Chiefs. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Those 5 tailgates, those are not fun sometimes. In the pouring rain at 4:45 in the morning, it's difficult. And it's also a lot of manpower. So if we could narrow it down to 2, increase the size of our footprint, and have a performer on the stage for 15 minutes while we're there for 5 hours and make people feel like they're in a little mini Branson while they're there, I think the impact would be far greater than trying to really kill ourselves to get up there and do the 5 tailgates at a time. Chiefs Cheer Training Camp, we have an idea with this. We ran it by the Chiefs. So they go away for their training camp. They learn their new routines for the season, coming here to Branson to do all of that. But what if our high school cheer team got to do a cheer with them? So they got all the choreography and everything. They knew what their assignment was, and then they meet up at cheer camp, and we get to go and cover it all, get all the coverage, all the footage. It helps us in terms of like sports-related content to be able to show a cheer team live and active here in Branson. But that social media content will be huge. And then we can invite that team to come back and participate at the rally with those Chiefs cheerleaders. So it could be twofold. It could really have a bigger impact there. And then we have asked for some of the spend that was being spent on radio and some social spend to be funneled in a different way so that we can run it through our data platform in order to be able to measure it and see what's going on and what's the impact with the spend. This one I'm excited about. We all know what's coming, right? America, 250 years old in 2026. What if we transform our logo for 2026? I'm already thinking about the cover of the vacation guide. It's red, white, and blue. It's a collector's item. We ask our students locally to write essays about why Branson is the most patriotic city in the country. Why do they love living in Branson that's so faith, family, and fun focused, with the flag front and center? And they don't know that they're being published until the winner is discovered in the pages of the vacation guide. It's like a desktop collector's item. Picture a street painted red, white, and blue. How about we try to hang the most American flags in a destination than has ever been done before? Let's own it. Let's own. Yeah, I know. I saw the yellow ribbons. He's clearly ready to do it. So we have so much exciting potential and opportunity coming to this destination. And I'm telling you, everyone I've talked to about Branson being the most patriotic city, they're like, it already is. Think of what it could look like. And it's also not a hard one to ask of our stakeholders and our partners, right? Because it's easy to ask your servers to wear red, white, or blue. It's not going to cost your businesses a lot to participate, right? But think about what could happen if you stamped some of that concrete with stars, like our logo has for Branson. Blue stars in the center of those big crosswalk areas, painting some crosswalks, red, white, and blue stripes, hanging flags everywhere, turning those lights red, white, and blue across the streets, painting murals on empty walls. You know, Lincoln Park in Long Beach, California has a giant penny that weighs 1,600 pounds, and it's one of the most Instagrammed selfie stations in California. What if we had giant currency? What if we had giant, American flag murals and giant bald eagles? Just the most iconic, patriotic things that you can think of. People will come from everywhere to take their pictures with them. So the possibilities are endless, and we're already looking forward to 2026. It's so much more than that. You've got the FIFA World Cup in Kansas City. They're already expecting about 700,000 people to descend on that city in about a 2-week period. There's a new international market that the state of Missouri is going to be going after. We can piggyback off of that. We could even arrange chartered bus tours from Kansas City to Branson. This is a place you have to come and vacation before FIFA, after FIFA. It's the whole destination. Come to America's most patriotic city in 2026 for the most incredible 4th of July celebration you will ever encounter. It could happen. We can make it happen. We can all do it together. That's all I have for you this evening.
If I can, Heather, I have to tell you how I just love your most patriotic city in America. I've talked about that to other organizations in the city. I talked about it to the downtown historic CID. Everybody's nodding their head and already thinking about how we could fulfill this. I think this is such a big thing for the city of Branson, and it's such a great vision. We should seriously consider creating a city commission that works on this. It assures all parts of the city are engaged, all the marketing organizations are coordinated, and even allocating budget as need be to make sure some of these things happen. And I even think about Kathy's initiative. She's got one coming up to update our mural ordinance. You know, here's a great opportunity to drive behavior of all these flag murals and coin murals into that ordinance, right? To make that really advantageous to do those types of murals. I just think you've hit it on the head. There are so many things we can do that way. But I'd also, you know, it's only a year away. I'd like to see us, you know, really get a responsible body that owns all the issues, if it's not going to be all in your department, to look after this and start making it happen and communicating it to our community. But great work, really appreciate it.
So I was remiss, the picture that was up on the screen when I was standing down here was beautiful Ozark Mountain Christmas with the snowman and up at the tailgate. It wasn't? Okay, we didn't put it up. Can we put it up? Can you do it? Because it was supposed to be up when I was here and I didn't look back there. But when she said 4:45, I think, that was Heather and Colton. And it does take a lot of work. And look at that. Is that not amazing? That was what was representing Branson on Sunday at the Chiefs game. And I have to believe maybe that's the reason why they actually won, is because they were there. And but that's all her idea and her team that she's working with. Ashley's been, you know, so wonderful, you know, to participate and stuff. But this is her. And then I want to do one more thing on record because she won't say it, but I will. And then I'm going to go sit down and you all can talk to her. This idea of 2026 turning us red, white, and blue before the election, long before the election, Heather's been talking about this. And we've talked about it to a few people that have really said, I don't know about that. But she's committed and she believes because she knows. And so after President Trump won re-election on election day, he sent out a thing and said, the tourism industry in America better be prepared because he is planning on 2026 being the biggest celebration to celebrate America that's ever been. And Our Lady right here was already talking about it long before that came on. That's the quality of person we have in Heather, and that's how much she loves this destination. So Heather, I'm gonna let you take all the...
Hey, Pam, real quick on that too, and to Heather, I tell you another group of people that have been calling me about this and really championing that is the Seitz family, both Brian and his son Daniel. We need to get that connection going because there are connections that can be made at the state level. Another one, Brad Hudson, State Senate. So let's get those conversations going because that could be, we could take this to the next level. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, this could be the biggest thing we've ever done. And the great thing about it, and Heather is much more well-versed in this, it's like, it's not for just 1 year. If we can make this happen for 2026, this is something that we just can continue to build on. That's right. But it's going to take all of us working together because we can't do it all out of our budget that we have. So we've got to make sure that we've got, you know, the resources available, the money to spend on it, cooperation, and I think she's amazing, and I think she can make any of it happen. So I'm going to turn it back over to Heather.
I don't think that's why the Chiefs won, but, you know. What do I know?
Just not political, but just the real on-the-ground people feedback. In my business, I see a lot of local folks, and just coming off of Veterans Week, I told the mayor earlier, from most of the veterans that came into my office today, their overall feeling, and this is like perfect timing, that the feeling of that love for veterans, they're starting to feel like it's back again because it was lost for a while. And that's why we've championed that being the most patriotic city and really over-indexing on being that homecoming for veterans. And so the fact that you're willing to allocate more money to that particular thing, and it's been, you know, this is kind of happened just on the fumes of what was there before, and now you're putting more fuel on the fire. I think it's just going to explode, and what a perfect timing for that. And I know the mayor and everyone on this board is super behind that, because it's very important to us, and very individually and as a board. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you, sir. I think those are excellent points. And that was something that I've noticed at the tailgates. We have met so many veterans this last game specifically, and we told them what we do for Veterans Week. And there were people who drove here for the parade yesterday that I saw at the tailgate because they talked to us, because they heard about the parade. We had one lady come over to us, she's a Marine, and she said, I didn't know that there were small towns who still did parades like that. Yeah. Yeah. So we're unique, I'm telling you. You know, one thing my husband and I keep saying is the first time, so he works for Pink Jeep Tours, and the first time he came here, he called me and he was like, you don't understand, people are nice here. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you have to come here. People are really nice. And it was a joke, like, okay, well, I have to go to Branson because, you know, that's the only place people are nice. But when you live in a community that is a tourism destination, you learn when it is authentic niceness and when it's kind of a put on. Well, I came here and I called him the first night and he's like, what do you think? And I said, you were right, the people are so nice. It's true, we really do. Ozark hospitality is a real thing. And we have to start telling the world that it's bigger than just our hospitality. There are these little pockets of amazingness that people don't find, and they're looking for that. You know, I have had a couple of people tell me that, oh, you know, you better do some surveys, you better, you know, get the data to make sure that, you know, turning Branson red, white, and blue is really something people want. Why? Why do we need a survey to find out what we already know? Right? Why would we do that? And patriotism and love of country and love of the flag, that transcends anything. You can be any religion, any political party, it doesn't matter. We can all own that together. We can all love our country and not be ashamed of it, and love our flag and just love being an American. There is nothing wrong with that. Guess what? Countries do it all over the world. I've been to them. There's nothing to apologize for. Let's own it. We've got something truly, truly unique here. And the storytelling possibilities are endless.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm all in on that. I'm sorry. I mean, just when you brought it up, I've already designed how I'm going to paint my parking lot. And
I could tell you're already sketching.
I'm telling you, I'm all in for that. And also, let me say, this is my 38th year of entertaining in Branson. I had my own business for 19. I've sat on this board for 4 years, and this is probably, well, the first time that I've sat through a marketing plan that I felt confident and excited about and not frustrated and concerned about. So
thank you,
that it feels good, right?
It does feel good.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. That'll be going away.
Mr. Mayor.
Hold on, I'm trying to get over this. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Artie?
I was going to share this during my closing remarks, and I've already talked with you about it. This parade that we had yesterday was unbelievable. Many people do not even realize, people that live here in town, that this is the oldest veterans parade in the country, 92 years old this year. And being a Vietnam veteran, our age group really didn't get the opportunity to come home to our country after the war and be respected. And the thing that kept coming to mind to me when you were talking about this being the most patriotic city in the country was, you know, it'd be a great opportunity in 2026 to have it welcome home to Branson for those Vietnam vets. You know, we want to welcome you home. And I think that you've got some great ideas. We've talked about it before with you, and I'm looking forward to doing anything I can to make this successful.
Thank you, sir. We're really excited. We have a really great team at the Chamber and CVB, and I know that I've moved their cheese, if you've ever read that book.
Yep.
Some people may say that I've shredded it. It might be a little uncomfortable at times, but we have a really, really great team. They're all in, they're ready to get going, move forward in 2025. We've got exciting things coming. And, there's usually a mentality among CVBs, tourism bureaus, and the city or their funding mechanism where they get funded, and there's usually, some angst there. And I've been a part of situations that have been full of angst. I've been the facilitator to come in and manage the breakup between organizations and cities, and there's really no reason for it. That's the thing that I've learned after doing it, is if everyone operates with transparency and a willingness to come to the table and ask hard questions, and for us to listen and to say, admit if we've made a mistake and fully own it, that is accountability, but it's a necessary piece of the puzzle when you're dealing with public funds. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's how I operate. And if there's ever a time when I feel uncomfortable about it, you will know. I will tell you if I'm uncomfortable about how funds are being spent, or if I feel like we haven't done it right. You will know. Our team will know. And we are working really hard to make sure that we are doing our due diligence, being fiduciary, responsible facilitators of these funds to invest them for the best benefit of the economy and a destination that thrives on tourism.
Heather, I would like to say thank you very much for your presentation tonight. I am very excited. I'd love to meet with you sometime.
Absolutely.
Boy, do I have a story moving here 30 years ago from Southern California, but
I bet you do.
also, I'm your true red, white, and blue. I want to say thank you to all of our veterans in here who served our country, who continue to serve. They're serving now with what they're doing. My house is red, white, and blue, decorated in and out with lights, and it will stay that way until through Christmas, through Thanksgiving. I'm not changing anything. I love it. So thank you very much, and I can't wait to be a part of this. And then, Mr. Mayor, after this item, I'd like to ask if Representative Seitz would get up and share a little of information too about your participation. The Seitz family's been so, they're your true blue, red, white, and blue. Daniel getting married, red, white, and blue wedding. I just love it. I love it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So, Heather, I care more about the issues that you're talking about right now more than anything else, So much so to the point that when I would run, people would say, focus on other issues, but the truth is, this is sort of just the bread and butter and what I believe in as far as Branson goes. But the truth is, for many, many years, I sat through presentations like this and really didn't say a whole lot because that really wasn't where the fight was, so to speak, was in presentations like this. But, I feel heard completely without any, qualms or any holding back. I mean, we really do feel heard. So I'll say a couple things that maybe I wouldn't have had said in the past presentations. I really believe in there's a concept of like marketing versus messaging, and that both can be effective, right? Marketing being when you allocate dollars towards something, and messaging just being open to presenting ourselves as a pro-music show again, pro-music town again, for instance. That's why the mayor and I have done 30 entertainer holidays that share that we actually still care about being a music town, right? It's funny because all of these things that we talk about, Ozark Mountain Christmas, Faith, Family, and Flag, none of us came up with those, right? Those were age-old Branson adages that were traditionally based and didn't come up from the mind of some marketing meeting where all this sloganeering takes place. So that's what's so exciting about that. I'll continue to believe we are the live music show capital of the world and promote that and champion that. And then the last thing I'll say is that, music is a universal language. And, I think about a place like St. Augustine, Florida, and their sort of Spanish conquistador aesthetic, or Cooperstown, New York, and how everything would be sort of themed around baseball. There is, when we used to do the most effective Branson commercials during the boom era was, even when they put a roller coaster on the ads, it was Jim Stafford on the roller coaster, right? There are so many ways. If you go through Nashville, you'll see it. The benches are guitars. There's music notes on things. It is such a universal language that we can promote ourselves in this way, draped not only in the symbols of patriotism, but also in the symbols of music, right? And using the right instruments like a banjo and a fiddle, you can also portray our values and the mountain music aesthetic that made us who we are. So a friend and ally of mine who's sitting in this room told me for years and years how effective it would be if we actually got a credible person in your role, and I feel that way. So I'm really excited to have you here, and I think you have great ideas and great expertise. Super excited. So
Thank you, sir.
Good. Anybody else? Can anybody else sing additional praises for Heather that she hasn't heard? Representative Seitz, would you like a word?
For the record, I am State Representative Brian Seitz. I appreciate all of the help on Tuesday and retaining me as your state representative. I've been in constant contact with the Speaker of the House over the past week, and they're wanting to move me up the chain as far as committees go and so forth. I told them that in Branson, tourism is king, and I want to stay as chair of the tourism committee to help you do everything that you're doing beginning here. I think this was an amazing breath of fresh air. I would like to thank Heather for her presentation, for Pam Yancey, who I'm sure had a hand in bringing Heather on board. And I think since Kathy's involvement with the city, then she was such a breath of fresh air here. This is the second best breath of fresh air I've ever heard or ever felt in the city. I think everything that you said in your presentation is exactly what the citizens of Branson, the current Board of Aldermen, myself, and those who have been involved in the music industry and so forth, myself on the periphery for the past 30 years, this is exactly, including Ozark Mountain Christmas, what we've been wanting to hear from our chamber. So I appreciate every single word that you said, and this is just going to be an amazing time period for Branson. Yeah. I'm excited, and I'm a person of non-emotions. I normally don't get excited. I want to say this too. If I retain the chairmanship of the Tourism Committee, I still want to have, sometime between January and May, we're going to have a Branson Day at the state capitol. I want to bring folks who own restaurants. I want to bring entertainers. I want to bring those involved with attractions to the capitol so we can be right there in the rotunda and promote this statewide. Hey, if you want to see Branson, come to your state capitol. The bills dealing with, or the legislative things dealing with the 200th or 50th anniversary and so forth of our nation are going to flow through my tourism committee, and Branson will be mentioned every single time that comes up, because we are the most patriotic city in America. So I'd just like to thank you for that presentation. That was marvelous. I'm ready to get back to the Capitol and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Seitz.
That's it? No questions on the budget?
Really?
Okay, I just had to, do my due diligence here, making sure I can walk away okay.
Yeah, the number that sticks out is $1.8 million in savings from the miles. Yep. And I know I know you've looked real hard at Madden and some of the fees and going out for RFPs, so why don't we just get out of your way and Pam's way and let you do your thing?
That's much appreciated.
Thank you, Heather.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Oh, I see how this works. Pam and Heather come up and give us this song and dance and this story, and the next agenda item is to approve their contract. I see how this works, but good thinking.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the first contract renewal to the first amended contract between the Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and Convention and Visitors Bureau and the City of Branson for tourism and marketing services and actions related thereto.
Really? Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Holly, what do you have to share with us?
Well, I do agree it's very good timing. I am at this time requesting that you approve the contract to renew. If you recall, last year, we amended our contract with CVB and we made it a one-year renewal where we would then give the board the opportunity to think about the expenditures. The only change is it's $100,000 less than last year. So there's a savings. I did note when I was getting ready for this presentation, I omitted the term, which is January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. So we'll make that change, and that will be if it's approved by this resolution. It's clear the intent is a renewal, that it's yearly, the terms, but I'm a stickler for those things, and so we need to make that change, and I've already drafted that, and it's ready. So I just wanted to make that clear. That is what we're asking for in a change. If anyone has any questions regarding the substance, that's the only technical change we made from the amended contract that was passed in 2023 that began in 2024.
Fair enough. Anything more than that, you're wasting your breath. Any members of the board have any comments? Glenn?
Just, and I'm not sure if it's to Holly or to Kathy, but if we're taking $100,000 out of this contract, is that already in the budget that we're looking at here shortly? That's already adjusted in there? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Good job, Heather. Any questions from the audience? Now, you know this is serious. We're going to be signing a one-year extension with the CVB. Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Chris, come up. I didn't ask the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did, yes.
Chris Meyer. I was back there doing some math, and so it looks like their budget doesn't cover the full amount of dollars that come for the tourism tax for marketing. So I'm guessing there's some other things that are spent, and so I'm just wondering if you guys could clarify how much maybe you're holding on to in reserve, because I'd like to give them as much money as possible so that they can plan for it next year. And so in looking at it, I thought maybe it was about $400,000 maybe that you guys are holding back. So if you can give them more money, I'd say give them more money.
Thank you.
Wait, was that Chris Meyer?
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution selecting a firm to act as placement agent for a series of tourism sales and use tax revenue bonds to be issued by the City of Branson, Missouri, and approving an engagement letter in connection therewith.
To have motion adopting this resolution.
Second.
Motion is second. We'll get a staff report from Mr. Ben Hart.
Thank you, Mayor. A few months ago, the city staff requested Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors to issue an RFP for an underwriter to act as a placement agent, basically a sales agent for the tourism tax revenue bonds that we've put together. The responses were received on October 9th. 4 proposals were received, with the staff selecting Stiefel Nicholas as the top underwriter placement agent. They actually came to the table with potential purchasers, which is going to greatly speed up this process. And for those that don't know, the actual project is the is a sewer force main that goes into lift station number 17. I am not a water sewer guy, obviously. Kendall is. I know how to use them. I don't do what he does. But what we have in front of you is a request to approve Stiefel Nicholas as the placement agent, and what this will do is authorize them to draft the documents to go to get a sale, by which it still has to be approved by this body. When we initially put the information together for this one, it would be less than 4%. I think what they're predicting is 4.7%, but knowing Stiefel, that's probably high.
And you recommend this?
Absolutely. I've worked with them before, and they're a great firm. They're all firms that responded were great firms, but they were extremely complete in their RFP.
Does the board have any questions for, yes?
Just a simple one, Ben. I'm assuming that in terms of our overall bonding capacity, that this takes some more out of our city capacity, right? So as we consider other projects, this has an effect.
These bonds are secured by the actual tourism tax. So in order to put any more bonds on it, we'd have to actually forecast it out, which we do already. And if there's a bigger bond coming up, which possibly could be in the next few years, if there's a bigger bond coming up, what we'd take is Kendall's information and spread it out to make sure we continually have cash versus debt. But that's the only capacity that it's really going to be taking, is that tourism tax. And that's the only security behind these bonds, right?
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Ben.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6499, an ordinance calling an election in the city of Branson, Missouri on the question of authorizing the city of Branson, Missouri to extend for an additional 20 years the transportation sales tax authorized by ordinance number 91023 that established a transportation sales tax on retail sales within the city of 0.5%, designating the time of holding said election and authorizing and directing the city clerk to give notice of said election.
You have read the first reading. You've heard the first reading of Bill 6499. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
So Hillary, this is authorizing to put it on the ballot to be voted on by the citizens.
That is correct.
Okay. And we'll get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. I just want to spend a quick second to say thank you for, or hopefully thank you for your support of putting this back out there for the people's vote. We're asking for another 20 years. As you see in the pictures that are up there, I think over the last few years we've made a great stride forward to making sure that we have safe, accessible roads that are smooth for all of our visitors and our residents, from Gretna to Branson Hills Parkway. You'll see some of those signs go up. I can't campaign for it, but I do appreciate being able to make sure that our infrastructure, stormwater, sewers, and projects can get funded. We've been working with communications, with Comms Group, to start to throw some stuff together so people can see the true history of it. Roughly 5.4 million per year up to 7.6 million in 2023. We don't have the final numbers there, but that allows us for all the maintenance equipment and spending multiple millions of dollars a year to take care of asphalt. So we greatly appreciate your support.
Holly, is the mayor allowed to campaign for this?
Outside of utilizing any of the city-owned property or supplies. So as long as you don't make copies, but as a mayor, you certainly have an opinion and can profess your opinion. You cannot do so utilizing any of the city-owned or city-paid-for items.
I got it. Any questions from the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Ayes have it. Thank you, Michael.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6500, an ordinance approving the renewal of the contract with Taney County Health Department for public health services and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6500. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So, second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll hear from Ms. Marshall.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all this evening. As we're gearing up for end of year, our contract is up for renewal, and so I'm here tonight to answer any questions you might have and also provide just a little bit of information on what your investment last year provided to the department and helped us achieve. There we go. So just a quick reminder, these are the services that our contract is wrapped around. So of course we do a lot of our environmental health inspections around the food, lodging, pool, childcare, and you can read the rest of those. But this is really what is provided through our contract with you all. A little closer?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so just as a reminder, again, we've talked a bit about where the bulk of our work lands. And as you can see, we've got our Branson total of facilities and then our county of the total throughout the county. So of course, Taney County Health Department serves all of Taney County. But the bulk of our work does land within Branson. So you can see we do quite a bit with our food and lodging programs and pool establishments. Those are our largest programs. Many of those require more than one inspection throughout the year. So just this is the actual number of facilities that we're inspecting, not the number of inspections that are happening throughout the year. Not included in this, when it comes down to the work that we do throughout Branson, is not included in complaints, revisits, consultations, and any other offerings that we help facilities with. So this is what our workload looks like in Branson. I did want to share a bit about what we look like in 23 versus 2024, and just take the opportunity to thank you for your investment in our department. So we were able to hire 3 additional inspectors, and we do have 3 environmental health clerks now, whereas we had 2 in 2023. And so with that, I just wanted to share a bit about what they're doing. But largely, we've increased capacity in our inspections. With those 3 inspectors, they were hired in the May, June kind of time frame. And so it does take 6 months to a year to get an inspector fully out in the field, fully trained in the programs and out in the field. So we do have 2 of our new inspectors are approved to do our pool inspection. So they're out there inspecting pools today, in fact. And then our 3rd newest inspector is also about to be released for food. They're anticipated to be released at the end of this month. So we were fortunate. We really were able to hire a lot of really smart individuals that are picking us up quickly and getting through training quickly. So we're excited to be able to increase our capacity. Again, we've had quite a bit of training going on, so our staff has been really focused on a year of growth and a year of building. We've also been able to add some depth on the bench when it comes to our plan review process. So previously, we had 1 inspector that was able to come to the plan review process. And that is, we've been able to add depth on the bench by training 2 additional staff members, so they'll be able to step in when that person's out. And then we've also actually got another inspector that we had for a while. We've been able to free up some of her time to be able to help with that as well. So acknowledging that we don't want to stand in the way of those plans, and we want to be sure we're getting businesses the information they need to move forward quickly. So that's one area that we've also been putting some efforts. And then also we've been able to increase our education. And so I know you've probably all heard me say that we are educators first and then enforcers. We do quite a bit of education with our facilities, and this is the first year in several years we've been able to offer our pool school course in person. So that's one of those courses that if you've got new pool maintenance folks and pool people that are taking care of your pools at a facility, they really appreciate having that ability to come to that course, learn from our inspectors and ask questions. It's very interactive. So we've been able to offer that in person this year. And so that's been a really good opportunity for the pool operators. So basically, like I said, it's been a year of growth. And I wanted to share this. I know this is a lot of lines. And so there's a few things I want to point out with this. I had our team pool a graphic to show our inspection mix throughout 2024. And so you can see these are color-coded. The first portion of this, there's a lot of red. You can see those are our food establishments. You start seeing purple spikes around that May timeframe, and that's when our 2 new inspectors were released to start inspecting pools. So the significant thing about that is you can see how many inspections we were doing throughout the year, but you can also see that we had those spikes in pools. And if you look at the reds and the green, which is our hotels, you don't see a decrease in the amount of inspections happening there. Typically, we have to kind of put our other programs aside and focus on pools during pool season when they're open. So you would typically see a dip in our food and our lodging facilities about that time frame. So we've been able to maintain, if not increase, that capacity, in addition to having our folks that can get out and do those pools. So we anticipate this to grow, and I think you can see, this ends the week of October 25th is when we pulled this. But you can see that obviously we don't have as many pools to inspect in October, but you can see that our the reds and the reds are still increasing throughout the year, and we anticipate that to continue to increase as we get all 3 of those inspectors released to do food and eventually lodging. So I wanted to share this just so you could see where this has very much been a year of growth and a year of building, and this really shows that we were able to continue our pace while we're training, and then also be able to do things that we would not have been able to do without those additional inspectors. So this is a good graphic of just where your investment went in the department. So we appreciate that very much.
So Lisa, our Cheney County Health Department is critical to the survival and growth of Branson, right?
Yes.
We're really counting on you to keep us on the preventive side. And we appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you.
Is there any board members have any questions or comments for Lisa?
Mayor?
Yes.
So you're at 9 inspectors, is that full? I mean, are you comfortable with that, or
Well, I would say I think it's important to get all of our new inspectors trained and then evaluate, if I can be just very frank. Branson is growing. We are seeing our inspectors are being pulled in a lot of different places. We're doing a lot of consultations with new businesses, definitely involved in the open for business process. As Branson grows, I do think we will eventually need more inspectors. But I think it's wise to get our current folks fully out in the field and then evaluate what we're looking at. But I do foresee down the road, as we continue to grow as a community, there will be a need to add to that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep, thank you.
I learned long ago, you don't ask Lisa if she needs more inspectors.
We always need more inspectors, yes.
I kind of figured you was going to say that, but.
Well, in the spirit of transparency and honesty, I think it's important to be, not put the horse before the cart, so to speak. And so we're excited to get everybody trained, but I do think probably, yes.
Any other questions on the board? Questions, comments from the audience? What's so funny back there? Anything you want to share? Yeah. So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you very much, Lisa. I'm going to suggest a short break. Let's give it 7 minutes and we'll pick this back up. Calling this meeting back to order. Hillary, we're on number 11, I believe.
Your Honor, the next item is the public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6501, an ordinance adopting a budget and a capital program for the City of Branson, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1st, 2025 through through December 31st, 2025.
So we will now open this public hearing and begin with the staff report from Ben Hart.
Thank you, Mayor. I present to you the public hearing, for the public hearing and first reading, the 2025 operating and capital projects, operating budget. This budget totals $141 million for 2025, while last year's 2024 budget was $178 million, indicating a sizable drop due to abundance of capital projects in 2024. A lot of that will be carried over into 25. You'll see that in January or February. The Aldermen held a special budget meeting on October 29th, including the Finance Committee, similar to what we've done in the past few years. During this meeting, the governing bodies heard all departments as they highlighted information on each operation service within the city. Branson obviously has undergone a lot of growth, especially since we've been here. Not that it's our fault. Branson has incredible growth. Over the last 5 years, from 2019, sales tax just in the general fund alone has gone up 32%, from 11 or $12 million to around 16 million this year. That's just the general fund. Within the tourism tax, for the same period of time, 2019 to 2024, it's gone up $5 million. That's around 50% of what we've got. So it's an incredible amount of growth. I harp on the sales tax and the tourism tax only because that's a very big part of our budget and what we do. It's also very sensitive to the economy. Within the sales tax, our growth of 1% is what we've predicted for 2025, hoping we're way wrong, way under. On the tourism fund, we're actually showing a decline in 2025, about a 1.5%. And based on what we just saw, I'm really hoping that's really low from what the CVP shows us. So I feel bad about that decrease, but I still think that that's probably a conservative way to proceed. We set our resources only to set the budgets that we predict can take place in 2025. With as much capital that's going on in 24 and extending over to 25, I think staff's arms are full of everything they're doing right now. One of the things we did ask them to do is step back, evaluate what you're doing, and let's make sure we get everything done right that we put in place for 24 and into 25. That being said, this budget also, in the budget packet, you'll notice a few comments. I'm going to point out a couple of them. The budget anticipates the staff continuing to seek grants and building projects with other people's money. Not the city's, but other people's money, as those grants become available. If you remember, a lot of the grants that were made available are infrastructure grants that extend out a number of periods. And Missouri is not alone in that. We're going to continue to take advantage of that. And that goes for streets, parks, public safety, water system, sewer system, you name it. And then the second is to improve, modernize, and obviously expand our water and sewer infrastructure to provide future development and overall better service to the community as we grow. So that'll be very vital as well. With that, I guess that's all I've got for the public hearing, but I'm open to any questions that the public or you may have.
So does any member of the board have any questions regarding this? Any members in the audience? Bill, I'm going to close the public hearing is now closed. So you have heard the first reading of Bill 6501. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I have some questions. I noticed in the write-up that we got from Kathy, and I was aware of this too, from staff discussions, that we have a new feature in the budget, which is this revolving loan fund for economic development, which is $750,000 to be made available to the private sector for demolition of deteriorated buildings and so on. And my only question, I think it's a great idea. My only question is, where is that in the budget? What fund is that actually in?
That's a really good question, and I did not plant that question. It's actually, if this budget, 25 budget is up past tonight, what you'll see is an amendment for 24. What we're using is surplus 24 money to fund that project. So it won't be in 25, but it will be in 24, and you'll see that come forward.
So it'll come back through as an amendment. So it's really not in this budget right now. The concept is, but the money isn't.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
If I,
You bet.
then I also want to say thank you to all the directors. I think they did a great job at the meeting relaying both their accomplishments for this past year, which really set the stage, and then just all the ideas and tasks that they have laid out for next year. So I want to thank them. It was a long evening, but I want to thank them. It was a great job. I do have, and we covered almost all of the budget from a departmental perspective, but we really didn't get into the TIF fund summaries. And I had asked Ben to kind of be prepared for some questions in that regard. So if I may ask
You bet.
questions about the TIF. So I guess, overarching question, Ben, is, we're staring at 3 potential major bonding projects that the city could get involved with. We've got the sports complex, we've got the pool, and we've got the convention center.
Correct.
Nothing's decided, but obviously all big commitments. Can you kind of, since our fund summary doesn't really talk about the movement and the balance of our bonds during the year, could you kind of walk us through, have we worked down bonds, and are we coming up to any significant times where bonds are going to be due where there'd be a radical change to our budget to address that?
Thank you for that question. The radical change, no. I honestly don't think so. 3 years ago, I would have said a totally different number or a totally different answer, only because it was really early in the growth in a lot of the revenues we see. There's really, with the bonds that the city has to support and behind them, there's really 3 areas: Branson Hills Shops, Branson Landing, and Branson Meadows. Branson Meadows has expired a number of years ago, with the governing body at the time maintaining that revenue structure to go to the bonds, and that's a perfect place to be. Now, with those 3 things I'm mentioning, those 3 items we mentioned, we've got 9 bonds that are outstanding, of which 2 of them have plenty of money after the expiration of the TIF to carry those through maturity. They'll pay off. And I say that with confidence only because the number I started with was really low, and this last year blew me out of the water. It was a lot higher now, so we're building on growth. And when I'm talking about terms, we're talking about with Branson Hills and Shops expires 2027. At the expiration, there'll be $2.4 million outstanding in bonds. After that point, city-only taxes, revenues that come in, is $2.4 million. So with the growth, and I've factored in around 1% growth in each one of those years, with that increasing like we see now, then we should have more than enough to cover the bonds that are transpiring. That doesn't even count the reserves that have been put in place for debt service. So those add to that resource as well. When we look at the Branson Landing, there's around $31 million that'll be outstanding at the end of the maturity or the expiration of the TIF, which is around 2028, and it should be May 1st, 2028. 31 million is outstanding. After that point, 35.3 will be available for those bonds. So they should have enough. The expiration, the maturity of there's 3 bonds there. One matures 2029, the other one 2027, but the one in question is 2034. That was the one we're really looking at. We have been for 3 years. And that's around $30 million. We should have plenty of money each year to make those debt service payments. I say should because nobody can tell what happens. If another COVID hits, who knows what's going to happen, right? then we can make those choices. The last one is Branson Meadows. Branson Meadows, the revenue comes in from the expired TIF that we just allocated back over to for the bonds themselves. There'll be $7 million outstanding. Outstanding after, I'm going to tie this to Branson Landing because that's where the money comes from. After that, after 2028, there'll be around $7 million outstanding, of which is around 3.6 directly attributable to the revenue that's coming through. Now, if you say that, we've got also surpluses in other areas within these TIFs we can redirect to pay off the rest of that bond. If we don't, the alternative is to issue a revenue bond, sales tax revenue bond, and just take it out another 3-4 years. That's probably the best of both scenarios, barring any kind of economic catastrophe that obviously is going to cover a lot of other issues besides this one. I think Branson's sitting pretty good, for that matter. We're going to continue to take a look at these every year as we get sales tax in. This is front of mind. This information's absolutely front of mind. And it has been since we've gotten here 3 years ago. And this will be part of that budget process. As we look at this, what do we need in reserves? How do we build them up? Do we have enough? And I know we've got time between now and 28 to build those reserves up. That's what we've been doing between the general fund, tourism fund, and a couple other ones that will be attributable to that, is to be able to help share a lot of that burden if it's required.
Great, thanks. I appreciate that. That's great. On those same funds, I was vocal in a previous Alderman meeting that it seems our return on our parked funds from a city perspective is pretty poor. You know, we're not earning much on money that we have around. And I'm looking at some of these funds, like if you look at the, probably the most notable one is the Branson Landing debt service. Right. And I look at the interest income on there. The budget for 2024 was $202. Now we're estimating almost $149,000. But then we're forecasting for this budget for 2025, we're back down to $200. What's going on there?
Yeah, I would say that's a clerical error that the 100 didn't carry over.
Okay, so you anticipate that we would have these higher interest rates?
Yeah.
How come then, looking at the Branson Hills TIF IDA 870, similarly there, the interest income for a lower amount in the fund in 24 adopted was 365, and then in 2025 we've got higher amounts in the fund, and yet the interest earned is going down.
I'd have to look at that. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that. They should be equal. The interest revenue for both, all the funds for that matter, should be about equal for those TIFs, because they're commingled. The money's commingled with everything else we've got, and then invested out. So it should be about even.
Kathy, have we found a new investment advisor for these that, and is that reflected in this already, or is that to come?
No.
To come yet?
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Let me just look while I've got you here, Ben, if there was anything else. Oh, you mentioned it, but I think you indirectly answered this question for me. On the 76 CID, the 2024 estimate is showing a transfer out of 36 million. Yeah. That's likely not to happen anymore this year, I'm guessing.
That's right.
And so is that just a matter of when we caught it in the budgeting process as to why it's still showing in 2024?
Yeah, 2024, we set it up as if we were going to issue that money just to have a placeholder. Yeah. 25, for that matter, may not even be 30 million. It just depends on how the construction's set up and the contract's set up. You'll see a budget amendment come through for that one as well.
Thanks. And I'd just like to make one other comment, just procedurally. And I don't want to sound too critical with this, but we've got a finance committee established in the city for the very purpose of going through this budget and reviewing it and making recommendations to the aldermen. That's the way it's written in the ordinance. I get it that there's a lot going on here, and I appreciate the fact we had the joint meeting so we didn't have to repeat all that. I think that was wise. But I really think if we're going to appoint a board or a committee whose one of their primary jobs is to review this and make recommendations, we should, in our budget cycle, afford them that opportunity, because it's a group of citizens that hopefully have some additional expertise that we can leverage. And it's frankly just another set of eyes looking at the budget so that we catch everything we can, so that we've got a more informed citizenry with our budgets. It just seems like an opportunity lost. And also just, I've gotten more than one comment from members of the board as to they don't understand why they don't have a chance to discuss this budget before the aldermen approve it. So I would just ask in the future years if we'd strongly consider working the cycle such that maybe after that joint meeting that we just had, then comes a meeting of the Finance Committee, they chew it up and have whatever feedback they have for us as aldermen, because I think that would help us with our jobs here. It's a complex thing, it takes a lot of work, and the more people we have looking at it, I think the better off we'll be. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, hold on, just a quick comment, Glenn. As we go into next year and go through the same process, we've had these documents now for a couple of weeks. So I went through and scrutinized, and I came up with, I'm going to guess, about a dozen questions, clarity, and I submitted them, and then I was provided all that information in advance. So that's a very effective way to, because I know there's so many items in that budget to get more clarity on.
Yeah, and I've done that too. I use our aldermanic briefing, and I use my time with Kathy and Alex to ask those same kind of questions. I think that's totally appropriate. But I think it's different when you've got a committee that's looking at it, because one person's going to drive a thought from another person, and it just gives more eyes on the whole process. That's what that committee's there for. Clearly, our ordinance says that's one of their, I think it's 4 jobs that they have. And one of them is to review the budget and make recommendations to the council. So, I can't see why we wouldn't do that. With a little scheduling, we probably could have worked it in between our last joint meeting and this meeting. It just seems like an opportunity lost to me. I agree completely with what you say. We should all be doing that, throughout the process. But just like public forums like this, I think the Finance Committee operates similarly with a different set of talents than we might have here on the board potentially. And I think it would just serve us well to get their input. At least try it 1 year and see how it goes. I realize it's not been our practice, but that's what I'd ask for, both as a member of the Finance Committee and as an alderman who would appreciate as much guidance as I can get on this complex subject.
Okay. Any other members of the board?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In breaking with the complexity of the budget, Ben, could you indulge me for a minute? Because, recently there's, we kind of suffer just like in the macro of, federal government with misinformation. And particularly when it's around the bonds and TIFs and things like that, there have been some kind of information that probably wasn't true. So could you please just box it and put a bow on it and just a short statement of the state of our bonds and TIFs? Would you say they're in good order, decent order, or really, really good order?
If I had to put a bow on it right now, today, not just ignoring what the economy does in the future, I'd say you're in a good position. Hands down. No, you asked me 2 different things, one on bonds, one on TIFs. They're the same thing for you. That's the only bonds you've got. We've got clients that have TIF bonds, and then everything else the city or county does. And it's a load, right? I mean, you're going into it with cash purchase, which is phenomenal. That's a great position to be in. And you're thinking 5 years into the future.
That's right.
When you look at not just TIFs, we're looking 10 years in the future, but in your capital. I mean, you sit down and talk to Kendall, he'll tell you about 2029, that's doing. You're looking at things far into the future. By the time we give you a budget, the alderman's right. It's about the details, but you're also looking into the future. That's the best place you can be. And I'd stack you guys up with that thought process as some of our better clients.
You good with that, Ralph?
Yep, thank you. I'd almost make them want to repeat it for the people in the back of the room, but we got some really decent people in the back of the room, so.
Hey, you in the back of the room, did you catch that? Yeah, I'll tell you, since I've been alderman and the mayor, last year and this year, my comfort level of the understanding of where we're at and where we're at, my comfort level is very high. And I know that's why we're having some discussions now about, as we're planning in the future, how many things should we continue to pay cash for? And with interest rates and that, how much of that should we mix in with bonds? Yeah. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about our budget? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mayor.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6502, an ordinance amending Chapter 90 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to water and sewer service connections.
For the first reading of Bill 6502, do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a short report from Kendall.
Good evening. The purpose of the amendments to Chapter 90 utilities relates to permitting of the water and sewer connections when the connection could potentially cause undue burden on the waterworks or wastewater system. The amendments would strengthen staff's ability to regulate connections when there could be a negative effect to the existing public system. So sections 90-47 and 90-130 would be firming up the ability to deny applications when the connection may cause an undue burden to the existing system. Sections 90-75, special agreements for acceptance of uncommon waste instead of just focusing on industrial waste. These agreements would focus on large quantities, unusual strength, or character of wastewater discharges. And acceptance of the waste could come with conditions placed on the customer. And then section 90-162 would be prohibited discharges. We changing the temperature threshold from 150 degrees Fahrenheit to 140 degrees Fahrenheit to match the max recommendation for temperatures of PVC pipe. So staff recommends approval.
Any questions from the board? Yes.
Kendall, great. I appreciate you doing this. You and I had talked about this back when we were talking about data centers, you know, and the issue that we might have to address some things as it relates to data centers. So I appreciate the follow-up. I know you've got a broader scope than that, but I appreciate the follow-up on that. And I just wanted to mention, and I think we can chalk this up as a Scrivener error, because I didn't catch this before our staff briefing. I just noticed it this evening when I walked in. Your changing of temperatures, you've done it in the Fahrenheit scale. You didn't do it in the Celsius scale. So if you would, yeah, I think you had 65, it should be 60.
Yep.
Sorry, the old engineer in me still catches those things.
No, you're correct. I apologize for that. Yep, look.
Any other questions from, is that good, Glenn? Glenn, you satisfied? Any other members of the board? Yeah, I was going to raise questions about that 140 to 150. Any questions from members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6503, an ordinance approving the contract with Southwest Missouri Council of Governments, SIMCOG, for comprehensive planning services and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6503. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hi, good evening, Your Honor, and lady and gentlemen of the board, and Madam Administrator. Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. We have a great opportunity to take all the conversations we've had today, culminate that in an opportunity to take a look at what Branson is today, what makes it so special. We'll look at it, what it's going to be in 10 to 15 years from now. Really build that vision for what Branson is, can be, and will ultimately be based on the decisions that you will make going forward. You have already taken action to make this happen. We're looking at updating our community plan, our comprehensive plan. On August the 27th, you've taken action to allow the city administration to formulate a comprehensive planning committee, which we've been having good opportunity reaching out to key members of the community. There's actually a few people in this room this evening that are going to potentially participate in that committee, and we're really excited about getting this thing moving forward. But as we're working on this behind the scenes, we would like to supplement city staff with additional resources. And what I'm asking you to consider this evening is to approve the ordinance that would approve the contract with the Southwest Missouri Council of Governments to help assist the city with the development of the comprehensive plan by offering comprehensive planning services. Where we're at right now, we're continuing to further our information gathering phase where we're getting information from key stakeholder groups, we're getting key data points, we're looking at census data, we're looking at financials, looking at all the things that tries to get a snapshot of what is Branson, what makes Branson Branson. And as we continue to move forward, we're going to continue to have these conversations with other members of the community as we move, transition into some different additional analysis and studies, and all the key input we're going to continue to get moving forward. And the Comprehensive Planning Committee is a key part of that. And once we start moving forward with that, we're going to supplement those efforts by doing additional deep dive by allowing SimCog to help us with looking at some of the analytics, start looking at some of the data they have, utilize all the key resources they have. They really focus on transportation planning, they focus on economic planning, they look at other key things like hazard mitigation and other key services that they do in-house. And the key benefit to working with SimCog is they know our area. It's an organization that serves the Tennant County region, including Taney County, and it's something that they do and offer comprehensive planning services throughout this particular Southwest Missouri region. And it's something that we're really excited to work with them because not only do we want to be able to utilize city resources, we want to be able to supplement that with folks that know our area, but can do it from an outside perspective. And why we're going to potentially look at doing that is there's multiple components to the development of a plan. Obviously, taking a look at what the existing goals and objectives are of the existing plan, but also take a look at where we are and the things that were implemented from the previous plan. And here's the key as I started, it's starting to look at what our community vision is going to be. Really take a look at all the conversations we even had. I love being able to address you this evening because the whole concept of faith, family, flag, and fun are really key components of what makes Branson Branson. How do we utilize that in making it everything we do and take action on in the city over the next decade and make that truly part of everything that we do, and how we start to form those goals and objectives of how we make those things part of all the things that we do. And not only do we want to do that in a vacuum, but we want to be able to look at what all the key stakeholder groups, what the public, what everyone has to say. Not only do we have great members of this community, but we have tourists, we have other members that make this great community what it is. So we're going to look at doing public workshops. We're going to be doing key stakeholder interviews. We're going to be doing comprehensive planning committee meetings. We're going to be going to planning zoning commission. We're going to be coming before your board and seeking the input and doing public hearings and getting the kind of information that we need so we really can craft that community vision. We can start to think through what are those goals in order to move forward. And by supplementing our efforts with the SimCog services, it's something that we think that we're going to build a really great team by looking at all the different components that make the plan what it is. Comprehensive plans are named comprehensive for a reason. They are comprehensive in all the things that the plan will do. Developing the vision only is the first step, and then looking at land use and housing, tourism, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all the sections in the chapters that are going to be within our plan. We have outlined in the contract that SimCog will help us develop. But then it ends in this. It's not good enough just to develop a plan and think through what is that vision, but we want to implement that vision. So a key component of the development of the plan will be to formulate implementation tools. And one thing we're going to do within the contract is we're going to actually look at third-party consultant help, look at the industry experts to be able to look at how do you actually see different communities that are really good at doing things. And certainly we can look at some of the things that we do really well, but across the board and start developing those mechanisms to implement that particular vision. And it's start to identify timelines in order to make that thing happen. So you want to look at short, mid, and long-term goals and how those key timeframes start to shape the different things that we do, such as operational changes, development of policy, looking at different regulations and financial investments, and the development and need for new studies, et cetera, et cetera. So that all can be assigned to these key timeframes and be assigned specific ways that you can implement the particular vision within the city. So, so we're actually trying to form this, what I would call the three-legged stool, by having city staff, SIMCOG, and this third-party consultant that is to be named at a future date in order to develop this particular plan. So that's what I have for your consideration this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the board? Marshall?
Hey, Mark, could you go back a couple slides, buddy? Yeah, that one right there.
Yep.
So when we selected SIMCOG, was there an RFQ process, or is that just an organization that communities in this area work with?
Yes, so no, so it's actually two parts. So specifically the secure SIMCOG, we did not do a traditional RFQ. This is basically what we would look at as an intergovernmental agreement. These are services that SIMCOG offers to all the different governmental entities within the particular region. This is something that actually, if you look at the time frame, this is something that previous administrations have looked at with using their help, and this is something they've been working on ever since I've been in the door, assisting us and looking at different things and helping us develop this. So I feel very comfortable with the suite of services that they can do because they have the track record of doing it, but they can do it from a way that it's a not-for-profit kind of a method. So this intergovernmental agreement is how we're making that happen. And really what got them in the door, and something I failed to mention, was they actually helped us get a CDBG grant to help us paying for this particular plan update. So even though there is going to be a city match, the majority of the funds are actually coming from a grant. So we're trying to be fiscally conservative when we do this, and that's all something that SIMCOG does in hand. And these are all things we're going to continue to utilize their services. So when I mentioned the implementation tools, those are all ways that we can take a look at the implementation of that plan and look at different grant sources and different funding mechanisms to implement that particular plan. And this is something by forming this partnership by another not-for-profit organization and another governmental agency that we can really rely on to help us with. But make no mistake, when we start to look at doing the third-party consultant help, we will be doing an RFQ process that will be, since we are going to be looking at for-profit businesses, we will make sure we want to be completely transparent when we do that. So
Got it. So, Mark, I'm going to share my point of view without putting you on the spot specifically, because it's a broader philosophical view and really isn't an attack on anything you're presenting to us today. From the moment that you came into this organization, I've been talking about revitalizing this 2030 plan and getting this up to speed, right? One of the reasons I was so keen on that is because quite frankly, I want this group to be the ones that are revitalizing that 2030 plan, because comprehensive plans are valuable and can be harbingers of the type of government that this organization doesn't like. I'm a little, and this is where I'm going to express my opinion, I'm not putting this towards you. I'm a little hesitant to think that an organization like SIMCOG would have an ability to help us with those bullet points that stakeholders within this community wouldn't be able to. Especially because some of the criticisms and concerns of the previous comprehensive plan were things involved with like environment and things like that, right? Which are those regionalism things that a quasi-governmental organization like SIMCOG would have an expertise in, right? SIMCOG is sort of that's a regional deal. Then you get to MML, that's a state deal. Then you get to a national deal. Before too long, you're at an international deal. And I can tell you there are some people on this board that are very uncomfortable with something like that. So I'm just kind of, just expressing some of my concerns, and maybe I'll let Kathy take it.
Thank you. I'm going to save you, Mark. I just want to be really clear for the public and for the board, is that Branson will be the lead on this project. SIMCOG is really just going to help us with some of the mechanics, meeting planning, organizing, what are next steps. They've done these processes before, so it's more like, not necessarily cookie cutter, but as far as the process goes, that's what we're engaging them for. So it's really just part of the implementation, not the what's going to be in the plan, because that's a very, very different conversation. That will be driven in total by people of Branson, for Branson, and for the future of Branson. So I want to be really clear about that. No UN Agenda 21s, none of that other stuff. I know no one wants to say it out loud. Did I sound like Trump right there? I think I was like channeling my inner Trump there for a minute. But yeah, we want to be really, really clear. I'm very sensitive to the words that have triggered, for good reason in many regards, a lot of folks that were really unhappy with the last plan. So we'll be mindful. Thank you.
So Kathy, I guess what I hear you saying is that we're going to be able to utilize the metrics that they provide and the planning, and then when we look at that third party, we can actually, based on our qualifications, i.e. what our philosophical viewpoint is, we're going to reach out to companies that kind of match that, so that we can take these matrix and implement them into a plan that kind of fits the core. Yeah, exactly.
So that's fair, and I'm totally cognizant of that. The only tiny bit of caution I'll still provide is that even in the past, when there have been training sessions from organizations like this that were supposed to be just sort of straight down the line, a bit of ideological framework snuck into that. So I'm just asking our team to be very cognizant of that, even when they're just providing the framework, how pernicious some of these agendas can be in sort of making their way into these plans. And so just being cognizant of that, I think, is very important.
Yes, Ruth.
First of all, Kathy, Alex, thank you. You heard all our concerns about this, and again, deliver. Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. I'm so excited about this. As we look at all these up on the screen right now, it is so exciting because instead of having a global view, we're going to have a Branson view, just like with the faith family flag. That was so exciting. I love the direction that we're going in, and I am so excited to be a part of this because the comprehensive plan needs to be the Branson plan. So I think that some great things are going to come of this. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with you.
Yep, thank you, Ruth. Anybody else? Any other alderman? Ralph, you have already had your turn.
Glenn yielded his time to me. The gentleman from Ward 1 yielded his time.
He's yielding his time?
Well, as I look at this
Wait a
list.
minute, wait. I think the gentleman who's yielding his time already used his time.
Oh, for that other question that you
Yeah.
had? Yeah. Well, this will be brief. And looking at the chapters or these subjects up here, it's so funny that we have been innately developing all of these key points along the way.
That's right.
I mean, and even tonight, like just number 4, tourism. That tonight was a eloquent presentation of, wow, holy cannoli.
Yeah.
Tourism at its best. And, so we've been tackling these things. So I just think it's fascinating that, we're not putting the cart before the, no, I'm just kidding. We've already been working on these things, and I think we're just going to get better and better at it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to ask the board any more input. Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Mark, thank you, and I look forward to this.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Very much.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6504, an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations, Article 7, International Property Maintenance Code regarding Section 154 of the Branson Municipal Code to create a boarding standard requirement.
You've heard the first.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
If you want to speed this up, we can speed this up. Let's cut through all this crap and just get the report. Wait a minute, Glenn would object to that, so. So you've heard the first reading of Bill 6504. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion, a second. We'll get a report from Norm. Hello, Norm.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board and Miss Kathy. Tonight, I'm just here to give a brief staff report on what is commonly referred to as Appendix A. It is the boarding standard that is an optional adoption reference standard that comes with the International Property Maintenance Code. This appendix is being presented tonight with minor modifications that help it to be more appropriate for the city of Branson. The purpose of the boarding standard is to give the Planning and Development Department, specifically Building Services, a standard that we can utilize to help prevent unlawful, unauthorized access to structures that are unsecured and that are currently readily accessible to unauthorized person. This standard, while it does give a framework for board up of certain structures, it does not preclude a building owner's option, and what we would encourage them to maintain their structures in a manner that would meet our minimum property maintenance code. However, if they chose to complete a board up of their structure, it would provide the standard that we're presenting to you this evening. The content of the standard provides clear guidelines for effective board up. It provides basic detail on materials and hardware that are proven to be weather resistant and effective in securing vacant, damaged, or deteriorated structures. Limits to the areas where the board up standard would be applied have been added, and basically we're looking at from an 18-foot level from the adjoining grade and below, or areas where access could be gained to a structure from a roof or fire escape or things like that. So a tall building with multiple stories where there's no option to access those upper floors, if there was an issue, it would be addressed through our current code. The benefits of adopting this standard include significantly decreasing unauthorized or unlawful access to structures that in some cases can have significant deterioration or be unsafe. Additionally, calls for service to law enforcement, EMS, and fire, which are oftentimes directly associated with unlawful entry into these types of structures, would be significantly decreased. So in turn, it helps decrease the opportunity for theft, vandalism, or other unlawful actions. This standard does provide an increase in safety. Additionally, for our first responders and our community alike, it will help folks that could go into a structure where they shouldn't be from doing so. And having been part of the police department for a number of years and fire service, I know that when they are in a position where they have to clear a building, that is a risk, of course. And by having this standard, you avoid the folks from getting into these, and then that frees up our emergency response assets to address other issues. Staff recommends adoption of this proposal, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Norm, has police and fire endorsed this ordinance?
I've discussed this with Division Chief Patterson, so he is aware. Generally, board up standards are very common, and this is pretty much a boilerplate. I have talked to Chief Schmidt about this in detail, and again, having been part of his department, we work together very closely still with PD, and I've been on calls.
Excuse me, nobody make eye contact with Chief Schmidt.
Right.
Yes. I have a feeling he might be supportive of this. I'm just going out on a limb.
Okay. Any members of the board have any questions or comments?
Oops, I have a comment. This is another one, because we had the discussion of cleaning up areas that need to be focused on. And so it's another promises made, promises kept. I'm very excited about this. And even color-coded. That's very nice. So it will, you know, be easy on the eye. So thank you for all the efforts, for the safety, for the community, and hopefully with the future loans for improving the buildings, this can all work together. So thank you for all your efforts. Chief Schmidt, your department, Alex and Kathy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other comments on the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Anybody but Eric Schmidt? Chief, would you like to share anything? Very supportive. Okay. Then let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Ayes have it. Norm, thank you very much for doing that.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6505, an ordinance amending Section 2-362 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the sale of surplus property.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6505. Do I have a motion approving this bill? We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Hillary.
So this proposed code amendment adds language allowing the city administrator to authorize the sale of surplus property with a value between $5,000 and $50,000. So currently, code says that at $5,000 and above needs board approval via resolution. So this change will increase the dollar amount that the city administrator is allowed to surplus, and it makes that process flow a little more quickly and efficiently. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any members of the board have any questions on this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Really? We're at the report section already. Alderman Lucas, anything to share?
I already mentioned about the day. We had a beautiful day. We could, for a better day to parade. In my district, I took it
Excuse me
upon.
a sec, excuse me. Ruth, would you show him how to hold his button down? You're breaking, Artie, we're getting every other word.
Since I was at the parade yesterday, and it was in my ward,
Nobody online can hear you.
frankly, my dear,
Oh.
there you go. How's that, kids?
Very nice.
Okay, thank you very large. All right, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, having gone to the parade yesterday, beautiful day, I took it upon myself to try to say hello to as many veterans as I could personally. And I was so honored to be able to visit with not only veterans from the surrounding states and our local communities, but I met and visited with veterans from Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, Florida, and California. And everyone without hesitancy thanked me for us as a city hosting this parade, and that we did such a wonderful job with Veterans Week as a whole. And many of these people have been coming for years to our community to be a part of the Veterans Week celebration. And it was humbling to hear some of their stories, but I was honored to have been able to say that I was a resident of Branson and a member of the Board of Aldermen, and exchanged information with many of them, and they're going to contact me next year when they come back, and we're going to try to get together and have a big bonfire. So it was just awesome. It really was. And
Artie, last year in the parade, we had 64 entries in the parade. This year, we had 72.
yeah, it was an amazing parade. I was very pleased to see a lot of the military vehicles and to see so many veterans of World War II, of the Korean War, Vietnam, and especially pleased to see the number of young veterans that were part of Afghanistan, the Forgotten Wars, my son refers to it.
Iraqi freedom.
But the number of Vietnam veterans. And that's why I made that comment earlier about letting the Vietnam veterans know that we wanted to welcome them home, because we didn't get that, as you well know. And it was something that I think that we should all, without fail, be thankful for, that we live where we do, and that we should be honored to be a part of this community and what it does for our veterans. And so thank you to all of you, because you were all a part of it.
Thank you, Artie. Ruth?
I just want to say thank you again to our veterans and to city staff for making it such a successful event. This last week was an amazing week. A lot of great things took place, and you can feel it just having a positive impact on moving forward. So I just want to say thank you, and can't wait for this next year.
Yep. Clay?
Well, I think we're all going to mention veterans, so I'm going to do the same. We had our big vet show at my theater on Monday, sold out crowd. As soon as the show's over, there was lines for 5 hours, people in line to get tickets for the next year. I mean, literally 5. As soon as the show's over, lines out the door for 5 hours. I talked to one guy in the lobby that's like, hey, we've been coming to your vet show for 4 years. He said, we've been coming to Branson for 10 years, and then all of a sudden, we didn't even know this was going on. And then somebody said, you ought to come during Veterans Week. So now he said, we rescheduled. We used to come in the spring. We come and stay the whole week. We go to all the events. We wouldn't miss it. It's amazing. I performed at the Vets for Vets show at the Gilley Theater on Tuesday. Met with I think there was about a dozen Iraqi Freedom, Desert Storm vets, and they loved it. They're trying to get more of their era here, which I told them that's awesome. That's something we've discussed, is trying to keep the reunions going with the younger generation of the military, and they're ecstatic about it. And it was a great, like Ruth said, it was just it was a great week with Veterans Week. The election just felt good. America has opened their eyes, and everything feels great, doesn't it? And then aside from Veterans Week, I had a question for Michael, and well, maybe not a question, but just a statement. I drive the Strip 8-10 times a day, up and back. I have witnessed 3 times this week the crosswalk at the Hollywood Wax Museum. I don't know what we need to do to get people's attention, but they're not stopping. I saw literally a guy jump back up on the curb. The next day I'm going through, I'm about 6 cars back, see the lights flashing, mom and dad, 2 little kids. One car zipped right through it, another car, 6 cars, and then I'm the 7th car, and I finally stop, and they're like, thank you so much. And because if the pedestrians aren't watching, the drivers aren't watching. And it ain't if, it's when there's another fatality. And I don't know what the answer is, but they are not paying, that ain't getting their attention. And I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. I watched it, and then 2 days later, I watched a guy trying to cross that same crosswalk, had a Hollywood Wax Museum, same thing, cars zipping, and he's standing there like this, please stop. And they just kept coming. I stopped, and he's like, thank you. It's like nobody pays attention. And, I'm like, hey, you're welcome. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know if anybody else has witnessed this, but I see it all the time. And it's just, I don't know if it needs to be trust going up and something going across and, in your face but it's going to be bad. And we've already had one fatality there, and I don't know.
Well, wasn't some of the 76 improvements, we were talking about those substantially upgraded crosswalks, yeah?
I know you've got
But
the
we can't
Z
do
and all.
that until we start the.
Yeah, so that
I know in
is
the
one of them
future-
that's deemed for the hot crossing, which is a automated crossing, looks very similar to a stoplight, so that should do it, and that's a Z crossing, and that all goes out in January under a federal grant. So we're excited that.
So you're
that'll get
updating
done.
all of them?
All of them that I can on 76.
Okay.
So we're gonna go from one end to the other, but segment 1 and 2, and then this picks up segment 3, that's already been done. So.
Well, thank you.
We're planning on it, so we'll send out some more CMS stuff like we did last year. You know, the hardest part is re-education every 2 weeks, right? Or every week, you have new visitors that are here, and just making sure that we continue to educate. And I know Chief Schmidt's guys are out enforcing it also. The signs, I do want to know anytime a sign doesn't work or there's something going on, we do audit them once a month, but rain does make things funny, and so does snow and ice, so.
And also the thing is, at nighttime when those things are flashing, people can't really see the bodies there and maybe think, well, they've already crossed, and, I don't know. It makes, I see it all the time, and I'm just like, man, it's going to happen.
Right.
So.
We're working hard to make sure that there aren't any more fatalities, so, thanks.
Until you get that fixed, I think we should have Clay drive more often, because he stops the traffic.
I could stand out there with a reflector vest and a little school crossings, noon to 3.
Marshall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we did a fun initiative. Alex helped me with it. My wife helped me. Getting a bunch of yellow ribbons all over town. It was fun. We're going to pull them down, not cut them down, so we can do it again next year. And Marie says she's going to iron them for us. So, but it's a long process doing that. And long nights over this past week, Mr. Mayor, and it might sound like a trivial thought, but as I was up late and just really working hard to do this and walking a lot of miles, my goodness, it paled in comparison to the sacrifice that was made by our veterans, though. It's a small symbol. The longest one I cut was three yards, but it's a symbol that means a whole heck of a lot. At Tony Orlando's Tuesday Talk today, he talked about how far that symbol's gone and how many countries utilize that song. And he said, I thought it was a corny song when I first recorded it, and then it's come such a long way. In that same vein, Kathy helped get the Key to the City recipients up on our website that we talked about when we gave it to Tony Orlando. So now that's prominently featured on our website, that both Tony Orlando and Bob Hope have been given the Key to the City of Branson. And I think that's an incredible theme, because we did 30 entertainer holidays, but the special entertainers who also helped with our veterans initiatives. I think that's an absolutely incredible set of criteria in order to get that award. And then finally, I have to do it again. The Branson Pirates are 10-0. We are in the district championship game. Absolutely, against Republic. It's the first time that we've been in that format since they introduced that format 12 years ago. Guys, Pirate Stadium is going to be so packed. I would say you should get there about 4 p.m. on Friday. So anyway, go Pirates.
Ralph?
Let's clear my throat.
Ralph, before you start, Marshall, do you know how many yellow ribbons you put up?
Well, I will know when I take them down.
Okay.
But it's
Fair enough.
hundreds. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you. The last meeting, you had those Vietnam-era pens, and I kind of took a handful out of Clay's bag. And I had the opportunity that not just in our community, but I was in Springfield. And, Vietnam veterans are, even though they didn't get a real welcome home, they're very honored and proud of what they did. And you recognize that by, their campaign ribbon. They have stickers on their vehicles or on their tags, and they wear hats with them and things like that. And that was what I use as an indicator to walk up to these gentlemen and thank them for their service and welcome them home and present them with that Vietnam era pin. And what a very humbling experience that was for me. They looked me in the eye and thanked me, and a couple of them, I'm just short of where I am right now. Very tearful, but very thankful. And so that was a very good experience. And whoever presented you with those, that message, that feeling that that those gentlemen have felt. I know Clay gave away pins, you gave away pins. It made a difference. It mattered. It mattered to them. And it mattered to me too. It was very cool. So Veterans Week, again, I shared with you earlier, veterans that came in the office and said the vibe is back. Like, I hate to go on that whole feel-good joy vibe thing, but they were just very enthusiastically expressing to me that it feels like the Veterans Week again, like truly celebrating veterans. And many of them, complimented Clay on taking the banner over from Tony and continuing that celebration. And many of them went to his event and were very, very complimentary of that too. So I think we're doing it right, and the best is yet to come. I think we're, as I told Heather earlier, the perfect timing. You just put a little fuel on this, and sky's the limit, and we will be the largest veteran celebration in the whole entire country before long.
Ralph, let me share with you that we just received our second order of pins in, 5,000, and our next order, 20,000. We want to continue this. Thank you so much for sharing those. I always walk around with 5 or 6 of them in my pocket. And no matter where I'm at, we went on a trip to see our granddaughters. And at the Dallas airport, right, guys wearing his Vietnam, you just run into them all the time. So it's it feels good to show them the respect.
Real quick story, my first pin, me and my wife were going to Costco, and I knew they were in my truck, and I seen this guy, and he had a hat on. I literally ran out of Costco, went to my truck, got the pin, ran back in, and found the guy just to present it with him, and told him, like, hey, you're the first guy that I share one of these pins with, and it was really cool. So
That's
thank
great.
You.
Thank you, Ralph. Glenn?
Yeah, just to add on to the pins, the pins were great. I'm glad you arranged those, Mayor. I think I gave away over 100 pins now. I've come back several times. I'm fortunate on the landing, and it really speaks to our whole week. Because it was obvious to me. I mean, I watch for veterans hats and always say thanks to this week, you were tripping over them. I mean, they were everywhere. And it was a no-brainer. Like Ralph said, you spot the Vietnam hats and you walk up to them and they're super appreciative of that. And, I'm not the marketing person in the group, but it gives me thought that maybe next year we should just have a Branson veterans pin that we can hand out to every veteran and start to let them spread the word around the country about Branson just through the pins. If this one pin was that successful, I think a Branson thank you pin to our veterans might be an interesting
Pam
thing
and
to run
Heather,
with.
are you listening?
The other thing, I love the parade. It was so easy for me because I could walk out my front door and I've got a great spot there to watch the parade. Saw the mayor lead the parade there, got a wave from him. That was great. Watched everybody go through. It was a lot of fun. I stood there till the very end. It also gave me another thought as I was watching the parade. Maybe it's time we have a Branson city float in that parade. And get a bunch of our city folks and everybody and the aldermen together, and let's build a float and put it in the parade and say thank you to the veterans from the city of Branson for all the things that we do.
What do you think, Cheryl? We used to have one.
Used to. Let's revive it. With the success we're having with this thing, I'd like to see it come back. So, and just finally, Ms. Mayor, I just want to thank you, because I know you put a lot of effort into this past week to make the whole theme successful and bring all the different groups together, and I really appreciate it. I think it really showed off the city well, and I think it set the pace for what we're planning for 2026. We could really blow that thing out of the water. It'll be a lot of fun.
Thanks for sharing that, Glenn. I can tell you, I was exhausted, but it wasn't physical exhaustion, it was emotional exhaustion. Yeah, but thanks for saying that. Kathy? Kathy says, nope, we need to get. Yes. You, absolutely. Who has? Oh, yes. And Mike Huckabee has been nominated for Ambassador to Israel. Yeah. Anything else? Wouldn't he? Yeah. Thank you. No, don't be sorry. So I have several things I want to share, so I will rifle through them in the spirit of saving time. I'd like to start off with honoring our city employees. We have 45 veterans on our city staff. And I would just like to personally tell them, thank you for your service. I attended and spoke at the Veterans Memorial Garden. The Rotary Club donated a new wall of honor. I was honored to present Jack Hershen with a dedication plaque. Attended the We Serve lunch at the Lions Club. Several charities received recognition for what they do community-wide, and it is heartwarming to see how many charities are in our area. We officially started our Ozark Mountain Christmas on November 1st, and I think our chamber will share the love. You think? Yes. Veterans Homecoming Week, I won't even go down that road. That was just very touching. I attended and spoke at the opening ceremony at College of the Ozarks, greeted several shows and events, had a mayor's welcome at our Vietnam Veterans Wall at Fire Station 4, attended the Rose Petal Ceremony honoring all of our female veterans, attended the Military Gala, which was just unbelievable. One thing I wanted to share, I've been hearing rumblings, maybe some of it from, I don't get onto Facebook, but people tell me what's on Facebook about our traffic counts and our tourists are down. And I've heard numbers all over the place. I have heard some people say that we're down 40%. I know. Or they've been down 40%. So one thing I did was to triangulate some of our numbers, right? We use our tax revenue as a benchmark, and we use several things. But I thought it was interesting. We have 14 traffic counters in Branson. And so I went and just studied the one that's on Highway 76 and Fall Creek Road, right, where Fritz's and Legends is, on 76, just as a benchmark. And through the end of October this year, our traffic is down 1%. So, in the different traffic measurements in town, I mean, they all vary. But I thought that was a pretty good indicator of how much traffic goes up and down the strip. So, Jason, if you want to put that in an article, those are cold, hard facts. I will do that. And with that, I couldn't be more proud to be the mayor of Branson, Missouri. Next Alderman meeting, Clay, I'm going to ask you to run it for me. I'll be zooming in. Okay. You good with that? And what did he say? Artie will do it? He said party. Oh, party. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait a minute. We have to go in. Somebody's got to read something.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Oh, Ruth. Kathy passed.
Mayor, I move to go into closed executive session pursuant to 610.021.1 RSMO for litigation.
We have a second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote?
Lucas. Denham. Cooper.
Yes.
Cowden. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
The board will now move into closed executive session and will return to the council chambers once executive session is over to adjourn the Board of Aldermen regular meeting. In case anybody